Now, if y'all ain't going into the movies with clipboards or with tapes so that you could be making notes to yourself, then you are being entrained. You're being entrained to feel good about what's going on the screen. You are one of Big Brother's best kept secrets. Now, I'm going to tell you how they're settling up with technology. There's two different types of mind control. And we're going to deal with the first type of mind control for part one before we break. The first kind of mind control will then let you know what's happening with the second kind of mind control. The first kind of mind control gets real deep. This is why your metaphysical antennas got to be up at full tilt while I'm talking. Metaphysics is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely. If you don't understand metaphysical principles, forget going to school, forget going to work. Well, go to work. Just be blissful, and when time comes when to throw the dirt on you, then, just cash in. But if you are about evolving, it is time you open up that metaphysical grave that had been dug for you, the part of you, the spark that lays buried. That is what's going to open you up. That's what's going to give you the ability to escape your metaphysical mind. Damn all of what it is they're showing you out here. This is the illusion. If you saw Matrix, it had told you it's the illusion. But you didn't have to go to see Matrix because we've been telling you that for 25 years. And I know the elders have been telling you that longer than that from inside. Okay? Of mind control can be viewed as consciousness containment and manipulation through biological, psychological, etheric, and spiritual colonization and terraforming. Based upon the terraforming of the blood crystals, of the blood matrix, of the flow of life and light that is now inside of you. Everybody is getting hip to how they're electronically playing with your brain. And by nature alone, your awareness of it creates specific types of light codes that help you to recognize it subconsciously and bypass the programming. It isn't working just to shove a chip in your head anymore. Because the awareness factor, people outgrow. Just like you give somebody a cigarette for the first time and they start choking and coughing. The same principle when they put that chip inside of your head. Your body tends to become accommodating of it, and if your consciousness level is strong enough, you bypass the circuitry. They're finding out more and more that mental manipulation, biological manipulation, isn't working at the level they are currently practicing. So how have they gone? This is what we're going to get into. The second form of mind control is technological interfacing of gadgets with bioelectrical neuronal sites in the brain and the nervous system. Let me check that again for you. Technological interfacing with gadgets or of gadgets with bioelectric neuronal sites in the brain and throughout the nervous system. That's the technical part. That's the one we'll get into after we go to the break. Now, the topics for mind control include displacement of consciousness, the filter of experience, electronic dissolution and disturbance and rearrangement of your memory. That includes your archetypal memory. That includes you not being able to interface with the information that your ancestors left in the blood genes. And how they're going to do that. Another form is condensed knowledge, so that you work within specific parameters and nothing else. 4 or 5, reality and culture is a language construct. Now check, and very carefully. Eating is a form of information transference. Let me repeat that to you. Eating is a form of information transference. I'm going to let that sit in and digest a little bit. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about and why it is that they got to get to your food. And why you got to be doubly and triply careful of what it is you put into your mouth as sustenance. 7. The lockdown in third-dimensional space equals time reality through genetic reconstruction. Let me repeat that. The lockdown in third-dimensional space is equal to time reality through genetic reconstruction. In other words, your genes are being manipulated to maintain the ceiling of your awareness so that you will have no light code transmissions filtering through the specific filter of experience that they're going to give you. So your experience is going to be given to you so that your experience now amounts to being you building your own imprisonment. 8. Synthetic telepathy. That's part of the technological and how they're going to play synthetic telepathy on you. People are now who have the chips in their head have been experiencing synthetic telepathy. That was the brother that we brought to Gary Bird and to the City Sun that time, Brian Wrong, when we exposed the fact that the chips were being put into people's heads all through the prison system. Who was there when we did that? You were there at the time. We exposed that. People thought we were crazy. But the Sun, that's why they shut the Sun down, people. Because the Sun was dropping some serious science about what was going on the metaphysical tip and what they were doing, the government's control. Mind control is frequency warfare. Let me say that again. Mind control is frequency warfare. They ain't got to shoot no more bullets. They don't have to strap you down like they did Dr. Frankenstein and stick a node up your nose and up your ass and all up your back and in your ears and shoot electrical volts through it anymore. They can deal with frequency through the television, through your radio. And when I was speaking about synthetic telepathy, through your bones. Through your bones. Now, in the electronic dissolution of consciousness, there are some extraterrestrial interferences and incursion around that. Now, some people say, well, damn, here you go. He's talking about little gray and green men running around, sticking us and prodding us here and there. You got to remember that there is an entity which we're going to get more deeply into. There is what we call the fallen lords. At least I call them the fallen lords. You can call them the Elohim, you can call them the fallen angels, and all the different names that they have for them. These are the fallen lords of light. And they do not like, you are nothing more than vegetables to be grown and processed if you know where to look for it. Now, frequency warfare, or the electronic dissolution of memory and consciousness, was developed by the CIA immediately after Kennedy was assassinated. It was a project to create electronically controlled robot killers that were programmed to kill on demand. EDOM, or the Edomites. EDOM means electronic distillation of memory. They change your memory around, who you are, and take away your identity so that the identity you have belongs to them, and you kill on demand based upon what they want you to do. EDOM eliminates the memory of the individual or alters the memory of events that the individual was involved in. By electronically jamming the brain, the existing acetylcholine, and that's the part of the brain, that's the part of the essence that the brain secretes for your memory, the existing acetylcholine creates static which blocks both sight and sound. This method can be used to either block or erase the memory, or to slow it down so that events seem to happen after they actually occurred. So you have a delay of focusing in, and the chemistry that puts the picture of the experience into your memory bank is delayed. So in other words, you take a picture, they have made the solution, the picture is your experience. They've made a solution, or they've done something so that the solution that keeps that develops the negative, so to speak, they've delayed it so that the negative now takes so long to become part of your memory that you recognize that it ain't be like a month or a year from now that you think it just happened yesterday. So they have the ability to slow down the ability for you to even make a memory or even recall a memory. This is how deep they've gotten. Excuse me? Well, yeah, it's more of a kind of a condensed form of time manipulation, because it's not really time manipulation, it's time manipulation perception. Little difference, yeah. Now, biological radio effects, this is again part of the technological, which is going to lead you into the biospiritual form of mind control. The use of very low frequency and ultrasonic affecting both electrical behavior within the brain and actual brain tissue. They have technological devices that they now have circling the planet that can affect the electrical pulses in your brain as well as the tissue of the brain in such a way to force behavioral modification and changes. There is the capability now to bounce pulses of 7 to 12 hertz off the 8 hertz ionosphere. Now, the ionospheric envelope that we are in, they can bounce these particular 7 to 12 hertz waves off of it, and within 3 pulses, entrain crazy and bizarre forms of energies into your brain, which in turn now enlists crazy and bizarre behavior. So they could seed war or peace. They could seed fights, riots, and so forth based upon manipulation through very low frequency, or what is known as VLFs, and ultrasonic frequencies. All right? Now we're going to just speak about how they are going to get into dealing with mind control on a more subtle and a lot more insidious level, because everybody's hip to what they're going to see. You're going to knock on your head and find a chip. It ain't going to be like that anymore. You're going to be the chip. You're going to be the one that is your own mind control based upon what they do to the biology in your body. Now listen very carefully. The blood is the river of life. It is also the river of light. Be very clear. It is not only the circulation of nutrients, but also the circulation of consciousness. Blood is the circulation of physiological consciousness, biospiritual consciousness. It is within the blood that you find all of the components necessary to coalesce, bring together, to bring you to higher levels of awareness. If your blood stinks, if it's filthy, if it is depraved, if it is full of garbage, you cannot enlist, or you cannot filter higher light waves through such a bloodstream and then have it convert to intelligence. It is impossible. If the blood is polluted, there is no way for you to convert higher fields of light codes into higher fields of light intelligence. It isn't going to work. Spirit feels its essence in matter. Spirit has no feelings. There is no feelings. Feelings puts matter in touch with spirit. So spirit needs matter to know what spirit is, to know what it is. So there ain't nobody floating around there and knowing everything, and I know what you feel like, trying to call on some ghost or some entity that never took on a physical form. Forget it. They don't give a shit about you. There is no empathy. They need to have physiological experience in order for them to set up an empathic bridge between the physical and the spiritual, so that you can now, that's where your ancestors come in. That empathic bridge is based upon them having been in corporeal life. Once you're in corporeal life, the spirit has been changed. It has been quickened in such a way that it yearns to get back in there. That's where you put all kind of experiences on the soul, which is essentially the bridge between the spirit and the physical. So spirit feels its essence in matter. Matter, listen carefully, children. Matter is an envelope that seals the spirit at specific levels of awareness. Matter is an envelope that seals the spirit in to the flesh at specific levels of awareness. How light manipulates the envelope determines how the envelope is refined in order to expand it to allow the spirit to feel itself at higher and ever higher levels of awareness and consciousness. Check. Did you get what I just said? Follow me and stay with me, because it's going to get deeper. Once you get this perception in, your cells are now jumping around saying, oh man, more. Feed, feed. Oh, this is like ice cream. Feed me. Because when you start getting into the knowledge or the meal that is the self, you become insatiable. And then all of this physical bullshit don't mean nothing, because you no longer have what? The appetite for it. Check? All right. How light manipulates the envelope, and I'm talking about sunlight, not this light. How light manipulates the envelope determines how the envelope is refined in order to expand that envelope to allow the spirit to feel itself. Remember I said its words, to feel itself at higher and ever higher levels of awareness and consciousness. To control the evolutionary advancement of the flesh, the spiritual advancement of man as well, one must seal and maintain the present envelope at its present level of self-awareness. Now, did you follow me when I said that? Because here's what is necessary to keep you in check. I'm going to repeat it now. To control the evolutionary advancement, that is the spiritual advancement and the spiritual awareness of man, one must seal and maintain the present envelope structure, which means the present perceptual matrix, the present, that's a window, this is a mic, this is a desk kind of scenario. But these are not what I just said. These are agreements based upon our agreement to perceive them as such. Remember I said that matter is a biphenomenal effect. And the only way matter becomes hard is through the agency of man's focus. Matter has two components. Matter has two personalities, a wave and a particle. But when man, or when the human brain is not looking at the wave, at matter, at its highest level, it is a waveform. But when human mind, when human thought, when human perception focuses in on that wave, it becomes a particle. So it means that the human consciousness is necessary, or is an integral part in how matter coalesces into what we call reality. Are you all with me now? Because I'm getting ready to take off, and if you can't stand the heights, just lay down and go to sleep a little bit. And I'm saying these things because when you understand how deep this is, when you understand the level that the beast is playing on, you now are at the field. You cross from him. Football, definitely, 1-to-1. And you the quarterback, you the front line, you the running back, you the pass receiver. You're everything. You're taking over the game now because you know how it's being played on you. So they must control the envelope at its present level of self-awareness. Now, how do they structure that awareness? Through your education system, through your television, through your entertainment, through church, definitely through church. Now, in order to maintain the envelope of your awareness, in order to make you believe that this is who you are and this is all you are going to be, they have to dysfunction the blood. They have to dysfunction the blood, because it is the blood that is the crystal that takes the light and refracts it takes it and specializes it, much like a prism does. When you look at white light, you take a prism and you put that prism, which is a crystal, up to that white light, boom, you get 7 different colors. Or the perception of 7 different wave bands. That's how consciousness works. It works to diffract what is inherent within the light into what you now see as those 7 colors. Those 7 colors become your awareness. Check? All right, now, stay with me. The light, your blood crystals refract the white light into what you see as consciousness. Now, a little preliminary information. The sun is your Pez dispenser. It dispenses the codes of consciousness in vectors of light. It is the sacrificial sun. What you see as the corona is the crown of thorns. You are essentially taking in light at specific frequencies and valences, refracting them through the temple, which is the crystallization of light. You are crystal light. And I don't mean that damn crystal stuff you just straight up there and drinking. I'm talking about you are crystallized light. And you are diffracting concentrated light into the reality based upon the structure and design of the temple of God. How your blood is constituted says what level of light you can process. Ooh, I see the lights are going on in some of the brothers and sisters. I better get to my blood. Well, that's why they want your blood. That's why you see all these vampire movies coming out. He needs your blood. He needs to find out what's in your blood that's going to keep you around and him not. There you go. Well, we're going to get to DNA. Oh, Miss DNA. Now, there are principles of energy. Listen carefully. Principles of energy, formed energy, powerful principles of energy. Principles of consciousness awareness that exist to create harmony for themselves through havoc to you. Check? It's the order of things. You can't blame them for it. Just like a leopard goes and hunts and kills the lamb, it's the order of things. You have higher evolutionary beings who you believe are supposed to be so sweet and loving and because now I know light. Hey, these motherfuckers know how to get shit done now on a whole other level. They've learned to manipulate light. They've learned to condense it and change it and use it and take it and do what they want to do with it. But by that very act alone, they have created their own ceiling. Because once you start pimping off somebody, once you start using somebody, once you start working off of somebody like these preachers do, like religion does, like government does, once you start pimping people, you have to keep them at that level so that they can remain your food source. So you have higher levels, higher beings that are of the lower order that have to maintain that order through making you their vegetable garden. So your whole consciousness envelope, your whole consciousness environment is being terraformed by these higher light beings who are actually on the lower strata once you get to know them. They look all fly. I mean, you know, they look bad. Somebody see a star walking down the street. You see Wesley Snipes. Go, Wesley. Go, Wesley. You say, oh, shit, Wesley Snipes, baby. Woo, what's happening? You all up in there, stars in your eyes and shit. That's the same way we would look at them. But they ain't no different than you. They just got up to the tower by doing all kind of shit, making you believe that they're somehow different from you. But they have contained themselves by their actions. And they know that you have the ability to reach light speed. They know you can bypass this illusion that you are now functioning in. They know what your inheritance is, and they are about keeping you from getting it. Your havoc is their harmony. Check? All right. Listen carefully. Ignorance is a food source. Ignorance is a food source. Ignorance causes disturbances because of its random acts of chaos due to the lack of awareness of self. So by your very act, you create disturbances that would not have been there based on your ignorance. So by your acts of ignorance, the dynamics for their sustenance is made ready for them. And you are ignorant as hell. That's planned. Disturbances in the natural, ordered, and harmonic flow of light create peripheral or ambient frequencies from which these principles of consciousness, or these fallen lords, extract and receive their nourishment and sustenance. Let me say that again. Disturbances in the natural, ordered, and harmonic flow of light create peripheral or ambient frequencies from which these principles of consciousness extract or feed and receive their nourishment and sustenance. They are evil only in the sense that they cause us evil by our participation with them. Now, the idea behind evil is a concept based on the acculturation of behavior. What is good, we say this is good because for the mass and for the whole, we benefit. If you do a specific action, if you are participating in certain things and it creates something that's bad, and then we say, okay, that's evil. It's a consensus. Because people who are evil, some of the nicest guys, some of the nicest people, evil as hell. But when you get to know them, they're like, hey, what's up? You know, good, yeah. Evil, evil, evil. But then, if you're looking at that, and you see them channeling that energy, and you get all caught up in, oh, he's evil. Get thee behind me, Satan, and all pontification. You don't understand how evil you're becoming by putting up all that bullshit, because you just now saying, I'm going to be the sword of justice for Jesus and all this shit. And you just become just as evil as the bastard you mud with somebody and not get dirty your damn self. How the hell these preachers telling me some shit about they going to fight Satan? And they're going to fight Satan. And you got to be Satan. You got to know Satan. I want to know more and more about Lucifer. Not from what they're telling you. Because ignorance is a food source. Most people, or most entities that you call evil, are actually acting upon self-preservation and are based on survival imperatives that were cultivated some billions of eons ago. We get trapped by them through our lack of instinctive self-awareness that the mind and the spirit inherits through a continual refinement of the corporeal envelope. Let me then say that again so that you'd understand it. We get trapped by these entities who feed from our ignorance, who feed from us, through our own lack of instinctive self-awareness. Our own lack of instinctive self-awareness that the mind and the spirit is supposed to inherit through a continual refinement of the corporeal envelope. So the more you live, the more you should know. The longer you live, the more you're supposed to know. You ain't supposed to be stupid at 50. And Lord knows that's when you get real dumb. You get real scared and stupid and go running to church. You start running to look for Jesus after you get that first pain in your back. Oh, it's coming close to the end. Heart attack and motherfuckers just catch Jesus and say, Lord, yeah, he came to Jesus. Because that's the only out they're going to give you, is to come to Jesus. We become trapped by the envelope through the chromosomes, which contain the DNA and the genes. Now here's where we're going to start getting heavy. The chromosome is a DNA-containing linear body of the cell nuclei, responsible for the determination and transmission of hereditary characteristics. See, that's the clinical definition. And that's what they want you to think that's all it is. Let me repeat that. The chromosome is the DNA-containing linear body. Linear means straight. of the cell nuclei responsible for the determination and transmission of hereditary characteristics. Now, the chromosome then must have all of the information of the ancestors locked into it. This is why this devil, this geneticist, who is the new Gnostic, the geneticist is the new Gnostic. He now has the ability to get into the library of your experience and start picking out what he wants of the information and start playing inside of who you are. Not who you want to be or who you are, so that he will make you who he wants you to be. Now let's drop about a gene. A gene is a functional hereditary unit. It is a functional hereditary unit that occupies a fixed location on the chromosome. It occupies, carefully listen now, a fixed location on the chromosome. It has a specific influence on phenotype or a group and is capable of mutation. Now you'll understand why the gene can change and what that has to do with you and mind control. Now, listen very carefully. There is something around the sun called the chromosphere. The chromosphere. Now, the chromosphere of the sun is made up of primarily hydrogen. Check the connection now. It is several thousand miles in depth and lies separate and above the photosphere, which it surrounds. Okay? The chromatosphere surrounds the photosphere and is distinct and separate from the corona, or the crown of thorns. Listen carefully. The DNA, I'm putting all the little definitions in before we get to it. The DNA is a polymer, or something of a high molecular weight. That's what a polymer means. Something that has a high density and molecular weight with millions of repeated linked units. The DNA is a polymer of the chromosome consisting of two long chains of alternating phosphate and deoxyribose units, twisted into a double helix and joined by hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases, adenine and thymine, or cytosine and guanine. Now let me go back to what I'm saying and how it connects with the chromosphere of the sun. Go back to the top. The chromosphere of the sun is made up of primarily hydrogen. This is why I needed the blackboard. The chromosphere is made up primarily of hydrogen. All right? It is several thousand miles thick and lies separate and above the photosphere. Photo meaning the light sphere, the part that you can see, which it surrounds. Now the DNA has a alternating phosphate and deoxyribose units, linear, that is twisted into a double helix and joined together by hydrogen. Now, I said that to say that the so-called chromatosphere or chromosphere of the sun and the chromosomes of the cell, are you checking me? The chromosome of the cells are your inner sun. Remember, the cells are your internal little suns. You have whole solar systems that are cells. The chromosome and the chromosphere are together and are synergistically linked through the activity of the DNA. So the sun and you are intermittently connected through the DNA. Your chromosomes and the chromosphere, hydrogen bonds in the chromosomes, hydrogen as the majority, thousands of miles thick around the sun, there is a connection. You are being beamed information through the hydrogen, the chromosphere of the sun is connecting to the hydrogen coupling bonds in your DNA and giving it instructions to change. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be giving you instructions to grow a third helix. this present time. But because you are in light code lockdown, and because they are polluting the atmosphere so that they filter out the instructions from the chromosphere to your chromosomes, you're the one that's getting all, you might as well be back knuckle dragging at an ape. You are being regressed purposefully to keep you as a food source for light. The DNA represents a fixed projection of light as consciousness. The DNA represents a fixed projection of light as consciousness. As light travels through the ever-increasing density of matter, it begins to spiral in relationship to the elements that it gathers. Let me say that again. As light travels through the ever-increasing density of matter, it begins to spiral. It doesn't go into a straight line. It spirals. That's why when you look at the electrical line inside of here, it's twisted. Because all things, once it gets to this level, light travels, everything travels, atomics, everything travels in spirals. All energy travels in spirals. So, what constitutes your DNA is the coagulation of these elementals, these primordial archetypal elementals that are now coalescing around the design of the intelligent mind to become you, man. So the DNA is essentially just following the instructions of universal mind to condense you into man, to God as man. Now all of this is coming to be because now you're going to see what they have to do in order to interrupt and mess with who you are. Because the old forms of mind control don't work too tough no more. Evidence. Y'all ain't sucking on a neck bone. The denser the elements themselves fix light through the densification of atoms. The elements fix light. Okay? They fix light through the densification of atoms who behave according to how many elementals and atoms join together. So the more compact, the more constricted these atoms and these elements work together, the more density of light you have. And the more awareness you can actually encompass, and the more manipulation of these atoms you can do through your mind. Because that's the secret. Like structure, manipulating the DNA helix, manipulating the hydrogen connection, so that you now begin to give instructions based upon your awareness, not through what they're telling you. Higher awareness, it must grow now. You must get deep into metaphysics at this time to save your life. This is not just about you saying, well, I'll study in school and we'll take this, and I may even take a little something of metaphysics. No, bullshit. You gotta have to put everything aside and study metaphysics now, because that's how they're coming at you. They're coming at you through the metaphysical tip. The denser or more compact the atoms, the greater the concentration of light. If you manipulate the atmosphere or ionosphere, ion is the name of John. That's why the book of John has nothing to do with no people. The book of John, if you notice, the four gospels, the first three are called the synoptic gospels, which mean they're just synapse, they're just compilation, real put together. Most of them are all put together, they're pretty much the same. But the last one of John don't seem to start off like anything else. All right? John is not actually a person. It was based upon ionosphere, ion being a dynamic of radiation, a dynamic of light. So John, if you look at the word J, there was no J, it was I-O-N. John, is the book of John, is telling you in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And if you understood what the Word was and how they're using the Word to manipulate your DNA, the Word through frequencies, because remember, the Word is a frequency, so they're playing with the Word so that your words come out the way they want you to say it. They come out the way they want you to think it. The manipulation of the Word through frequencies. The Word is a frequency. When I'm talking to you on a band based upon frequency transference from here to here. to here, to there. It's about bouncing energies back and forth through sound frequencies. Well, they've learned to take the word and to use it for evil, to bypass your ability to filter the word into consciousness and put in this instructions to make you still think that you're an animal, to keep you on the lower fields of awareness. If you manipulate the atmosphere or the ionosphere of our planet, you interface with the hydrogen source or higher nutritional base of light in the DNA. Hallelujah. I don't know where I was when I said that. Let me repeat it. If you repeat, somebody bring me back down. I need to take a sip. Woo. You know, as I tell you, boy, you want a high? You really want a high? Get into metaphysics. Because once you start coming into self-realization, you start losing, things start moving and turning. And let me put that back to you again. If you manipulate the atmosphere or the ionosphere of our planet, you interfere with the hydrogen source or the higher nutritional base of light for the DNA. The hydrogen anchors, and I use that word, anchors, between the complementary bases that project towards the axis of the helix. Now, the word helix comes from the word helio, which means hello. These things aren't named by accident. Now, the hydrogen anchors between the complementary bases. Now, this is the DNA. Just imagine the DNA and these little ladder, Jacob's ladder, connecting it all the way through. Okay? The hydrogen anchors, and I use the word hydrogen as an anchor because it anchors the elements that have coalesced into the helix. Hydrogen anchors those elements. All right? Between the complementary bases that project towards the axis of the helix. Now, helix is from the word helio, which is Greek for the sun. From one of the strands where it is bonded, in sequence becomes distorted and different in its ability to hold the light programming. Let me repeat that for you. Don't worry. We'll try our best to really simplify it for us to get it. The hydrogen anchors between the complementary bases that project towards the axis of the helix from one of the strands where it is bonded together in a sequence become distorted and deficient in its ability to hold the light programming. When they screw with the ionosphere, and that's what the heart technology is all about. When they screw with the ionosphere, they mess up, they distort, and they cause disturbances in how the light frequency, hydrogen frequencies come to this planet. And let me tell you something. Remember a long time ago I spoke about the fact that one of the great wars that took place on this planet caused the hydrogen canopy that was around our planet to fall, and it fell. Remember I spoke about that? And it fell 40 days and 40 nights. And what do you call that? Flood? Right. Well, the ionosphere collapsed. That particular hydrogen atmosphere that we had around our world collapsed. That atmosphere used to be in synchronicity with the sun's atmosphere. So we had an Edenic kind of energy here, giving us information that was piped along the line of star frequencies. Remember, the starlight you see are nothing but lattices or relay stations for light. And the more light is relayed, the more differentiated it becomes, the more specialized it becomes. So the core of our universe, the core of our galaxy, gives off a specific consciousness intent. Follow me now. It gives off a specific consciousness intent of higher universal mind. That intent becomes synthesized as creation. That creation through suns, and I told you in the last time, a sun is the youngest form of life in the cosmos. And that sun, as it begins to peek through, it then becomes a relay station of consciousness throughout the whole galaxy. And it relays light from the core, what the Mayans called the Hunab Ku. The Hunab Ku holds the instructions for your consciousness time zone. So wherever your zip code, your consciousness zip code is, you have a specific consciousness revelation that you have to achieve. All of this is based upon a holographic dynamic, and you are in a gigantic holograph of the universal mind. It is not one-dimensional, and I know you are trying to look at this thing as it is omnidimensional. This is how I'm trying to speak to you. So your eyes, like they said in the movie, why is my eyes hurting so much? You say you've never seen before. So why is my head hurting? Why is my back of my back? What is he talking about? I am taking you out of your linear, your blinders, and having you see three-dimensionally now who you are. You are not in a universe that where you look out in the sky, that's the direction. You are in an omniverse, and this is a holographic design of the mind, of the universal mind. And you are participating in a hologram. And where you are positioned on that hologram, you are picking up specific points of light and information beamed to you based upon your position in the hologram. The hologram is being changed right now. That's why there is no mothership coming. This is the ship that will be changed to a whole other environment where you will be picking up whole other forms of light, whole other lattices, whole other directionals coming at you all at once. Now, when you distort the hydrogen essence of the suns and its ability to give you the helium, all the different forms of elements, because remember, all of the elements that's in your body, you don't need to be getting from food. The sun creates the elements based upon what you breathe. So it's necessary to pollute the atmosphere so that the solar radiation that creates the nutrients, the minerals, the sun creates minerals. So what the best way to do it for you to stop getting minerals through the breath, because the breath is the breath of life. You are the breath of life. You're not the spinach of life. You're not the Mickey D's of life. You are the breath of life. So the breath is supposed to give you everything that you need. But when you distort the atmosphere, when you distort the environment, you cannot be nurtured through your primary source anymore. And then this now distills the atmosphere into the blood. This is the secret of Jesus changing the water to wine at the marriage of Cana. If you look at the word Cana, it means place of the reeds. If you look inside your lungs, it's nothing but a constitution of reeds. That's what your bronchioles are. The marriage of Cana is taking in the solar radiation as food, condensing it as the waters into the wine that is your blood. You see, oh, it gets deep. It's deep. I mean, after this, why would you even want to go to school? What are they teaching our children? What are they teaching us in these places? Programming. This will interfere or distort the DNA's ability to determine individual hereditary characteristics or be manipulated to create freaks of nature. Now, it has been told that our planet is being terraformed by different types of species who live in these kinds of environments. Now, these kind of environments never existed when we were around. We have adapted. We die sooner than the 1,000 to 2,000 years that we lived. Why is that? Because the atmosphere has been terraformed in order to keep someone else comfortable, in order to feed someone else, in order to sustain someone else. There once was a hydrogen halo surrounding our Earth that fed the higher frequencies of universal mind directly to our DNA pattern. It was a triangular harmonic that connected the sun's hydrogen harmonic and the Earth's hydrogen harmonic to that of the body's hydrogen harmonic. Today, the fallen elders, or as they're called, I call them, the elders, the dark elders, and I don't mean the dark elders like us. I'm talking about those who live in the shadows of your awareness, inhabit a great portion of humanity's evolutionary envelope. These entities have walked into you. They have taken you all over. There's some of them, you walk down the street, you can see them right away. They don't look like they're from here. They're walking around with a blank stare. They really look like they are not from this planet. You can pick them up. You know what the clones look like. We told you what they look like and what they're about. They have this glare. They have this blank stare. They deteriorate very quickly. But you remember that these entities inhabit a great portion of humanity's evolutionary envelope. Better yet, they occupy by intrusion based upon your ignorance of yourself. That's why people who have thoughts that are not their own, sometimes you wake up and you say, damn, why did I think of that? Sometimes you wake up and you start saying, oh, wow, what would we look like if my baby was strangled? Oh, and you say, oh. I know. Have you ever had one of them thoughts that came to you and wondered what you should... What did I get that thought of murdering and killing and somebody dead and mangled, somebody close and loving me? That's them trying to get in. That ain't you. And it's good that you could recognize it and not get caught up in it, because there are some weak enough to get caught up in it. And they follow it, and then they become part of it. That's why these entities took over Hollywood, because they don't have a way to physicalize themselves. So they live as a component of your dreams. You get pictures of alien. And in that, they live because you give life through your thoughts. All of the elements that go into creating a chemical memory gives you pictures, gives you sounds, gives you words, give you experiences, and they live inside of that which you have provided them by the chemistry that is you. So they actually create, you try to find out, where do they get these kind of monsters? Who is the one who's designing these? They are working through those entities that they know are part of Hollywood. And they're there to make sure that they have places to live, because when you go look at the movie and you see this and you're getting terrified, they live best with children, because children have a greater impact. They have a greater impact on the memory chemistry of children. That's why you got to be very careful about what you show your children at a very early age. Because they're like cameras that just snap and keep pictures. You know what it was like when you were scared and you saw a monster and you kept that bad boy with you for how long? They live in that. And I say, oh, get out of here, Reverend Brown. Yeah. Well, yeah, tell me, when you're running from something, you don't know what it is. Like a crop of vegetables, and you can see Matrix with this one, humanity today is cultured like a clam to produce a pearl of energy that is of great value to the fallen elders. Every time you are educated, they have put a sand or stuck a grain of sand somewhere inside of your consciousness. And then it irritates you. And then all of a sudden you make a life for yourself based upon the pearl that your body creates to defend yourself from that sand called education. And you've created a pearl based on your irritation, the fact you got to pay your taxes, your damn rent is due, you get in a fight with your husband, he leaves you, now welfare gets paid, and now it's all one dynamic. And they keep putting that sand in. Keep putting that sand in. Every time you wake up, the sand begins with that inject vaccination. From the vaccination, they give you the bottle. And from the bottle, they put you into these nurseries. From the nursery, they put you in there terraforming you. Like a crop of vegetables, humanity today is cultured like the clam or like the oyster to produce a pearl of energy that is of great value to the fallen elders. Light is the pearl. Today, a vast segment of humanity is waking up out of the sleep. Here's where the problem lies. A vast amount of us are waking up. We don't want to go along with the bullshit anymore. We don't want to listen to all the crap that they're talking about. It don't even seem real anymore. We laugh at it. We talk at the television. I know I do. I hope you all do. I hope you all get up, and when you're looking at the news and you hear some bullshit, that you start saying back, get the fuck out of here. And you look for something and you throw it at the screen. That's healthy. You start yelling and screaming and getting mad. They can't get in there. That's healthy. It's unhealthy when you're sitting there. Look at that. That's the sign of insanity. If you could look at the news and just be quiet and just imbibe that kind of crap. If you could look at television, if you could look at the television, the movies. When I go to movies, I start talking all kind of shit. What the? You look at that shit. You see that? And everybody's right there. What's he talking about? Shut up, you know. I want to see him shoot him up, you know. The fact that you all are awakening is perilous to the fallen elders, in that you are now weeds growing in their gardens. And a weed grows, boy. Weed is strong as a motherfucker. You cannot, it don't be cultivated. Weed, you can't, shit. You try to cultivate all these things that you do in the vegetable. It looks so nice, it looks so pretty. Weeds say, damn that, I'm growing right here. And you gotta, oh man, and you gotta kill it, the shit grows back. Quick! Well, you are the weed in their little garden of ignorance. Now, catch up with me. A cosmo-psycho-bio-spiritual order. Let me say that again. A cosmo-psycho-bio-spiritual order that was established eons ago is dismantling because the old restraints of brutality and fear no longer work on you, as in the case of early Christianity. A newer, more insidious method of control must now be instituted. An internal control dynamic, an internal brutality and fear dynamic that can be controlled by the push of a button. Now, the button can be a word. The button can be the change in a temperature around you. The button can be something that you see flash before you. The button can also be pushed on a console. Those who do the work for the fallen lords constitute the conscious and the willing, A, and the unconscious and obedient, B. Let me say that again. Those who work for the fallen lords constitute two kinds: the conscious and the willing, A, and the unconscious and the obedient, B. Those we focus on today inhabit and operate through the priesthood. Listen up. Those we focus on here today inhabit and operate through the priesthood of the temple of medical science, the new Gnostics. The geneticist is the new Gnostic. The Elohim of the Bible were geneticists. Genesis, Genesis, Genesis 1, that's chapter 1, verse 26 says, let us make man in our image after our likeness. We don't know what the fuck they look like. Do they? Do you know what the Elohim look like? No. You don't. Now, here's something deep. Why is the gene so important to the Elohim of today, the new Gnostics? Well, let's look at the word lamp. Lamp of God that taketh away the sins of the world. Let's look at the word lamp, all right? Could you please read the word lamp there and what that means? All of the definitions out loud.
A device that generates light, heat, or burn through a wick for illumination. A star, planet, meteor, or other celestial body. Something that illumines the mind or soul. Leave lamp.
That's it. That's it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Lamp? Star? Lamp? How you get star? How you get lamp illumination? He ain't talked about them that you, where you put a match to it, got a little flame. The wick is your what? A part of your brain. The pineal. The lamp of God that taketh away the sins of the world. When it gets lit up, all illusion disappears. when your pineal is at full-fledged flight, when the lamp of God is lit up through the Kundalini rising, all illusion disappears. You look into the glass darkly. There is no more fucking with your mind. You have the capabilities to raise that lamp, to light it. Now they say here that the lamp is a celestial body, a meteor, a star, a planet. Well, the word lamp means a device that generates. Did he not say generates? Therapeutic radiation. Where did that come from? A lamp. In the West Indies, my grandmother went over, lifted the bad boy. That's a lamp. You go over in the corner, you flick a switch. That's a lamp. No, it's not. We're looking at the words that you're dealing with. Remember, in the beginning was the word. So the beginning of your illusion is based upon the construct of language and how language is used or misused, or how you are ignorant to how a language is used, or how in your awakening you can use language to unlock the doors that keep you in light code lockdown. A star, planet, or meteor. Something that illuminates the mind or the soul. This is a lamp. A lamp. Well, let's look at the lamp a little further and check out the story about a lamp. What was the most famous story about a lamp? Aladdin. All right, so something told me, who is Aladdin? How you spell Aladdin? A-L-L-A, freeze it. Oh, hold on. Hold on, yeah, okay. Allah, Din. Okay, the word Din, if you break down the word Din, not jinn, jinn, we know what the jinn is, but the word din means dissonant sound. Okay? We know Allah. All right? But din is a dissonant sound. Now, if Allah is God, this person in the body of Aladdin obviously has to be an aspect of God who speaks dissonant notes, who speaks or misinterprets the word. So what does he do in order to find himself, to get his wish? He rubs. Oh, okay. Come on back up here, brother. Need you one more again. So I said, well, let's look at the word rub. Okay. What we got there?
Okay, yeah,
See the word rub. Start from there, but just keep on reading. Rub now. Wait a minute, hold up. What do we do? What does rub mean? Friction, rub a little with it. Yeah, this is rub, right? That's what you think rub means. Go ahead.
To subject to the action of something that moves back and forth with friction and pressure. To cause to move along a surface with friction and pressure. To irritate, annoy. His laziness was being to rub me. To move along a surface with friction and pressure. To chafe with friction. To cause irritation or annoyance.
Keep going.
Informal. To continue in a given situation, usually with some difficulty.
Hold that. Say that again.
To continue in a given situation, usually with some difficulty.
Go ahead.
To admit rubbing, a blackboard that rubs clean easily. To be transferred by contact or proximity.
Hold on. To be transferred by contact or proximity. Go ahead.
Wish some of her luck with rub off. Wish some of her luck with rub off on me.
Okay.
To harp on an unpleasant matter.
Go ahead.
To obliterate by or as if by rubbing. Slang, to kill, murder, rub up. To refresh one's knowledge of.
Wait! Repeat that.
To refresh one's knowledge of.
Second one.
Improve or increase the keenness, application of friction and pressure. You meant to hop on?
Go ahead.
To obliterate.
Okay, go, keep going.
To obliterate by or as if by rubbing.
All right.
To kill.
Right.
Murder.
Right.
To refresh one's knowledge of.
Okay, hold on. To refresh one's knowledge of. All right. The next one after that line was?
To improve or increase the keenness of a mental faculty.
Hold that right there. Thank you very much, brother. To improve the keenness of mental faculty? Let's go back. Remember we said Aladdin, Allah, dissonant note coming from the Word of God. He now has the lamp of God. He rubs it. What does he do then? He increases what? His keenness? Mental faculties? But remember now, this is a lamp he's rubbing. And we know what lamp is now. The lamp is the sun. The lamp is the star. What is he rubbing? Okay. Now he says the word rub is to continue as a given situation, sometimes with great difficulty, to refresh one's knowledge, to improve or increase the keenness of mental faculty. What comes out after that? Spell? What? A genie? Whoa, wait a minute now. Okay, so now the genie comes out of the lamp, which is the star, and grants him 3 wishes. Now, I know you're saying, well, where the fuck is he going with all of this? You think about how language has within it coded information. Now, who knew what rub meant except to rub? You know, your backside or your face or your hair, or rub a little baby's bottom with some cornstarch or something. Who the hell thought it meant, you know, getting into your consciousness acuity? And what? Rub? To exercise the keenness of mental faculty? I want to rub my brain. I want to rub myself with some words. The genie comes out, which is the gene, which is the code for the body. So Allah, din, or the dissonant code, rubs the lamp, which is the light, which is the sun, which is the internal dynamic of light, and then comes out with what? The genie. And the genie gives you 3 wishes. It is said in, what do you call it, in Sanskrit, that you live, you come back 7 times, 3 cycles of 7 times to grant your wish in the flesh. Because all of what you do is based upon what you do in the flesh. Spirit don't do shit. The spirit is just here to accumulate information. The spirit is part of the component that was developed. It was the light that Lucifer took into the darkness. It was the Prometheus fire that was unaware, though self-aware. You see? And all of it is hidden. The geneticists are now in possession of the lamp to get the gene E to do its wishes. The lamp or star within us is in the cell nucleus, which contains the chromosomes or light bearers, the light fixtures, the Lucifer matrix within you. Lucifer is the lamp. Lucifer is the wick, and it is the flame. The morning star. The light bringer. The thing that illuminates the mind and the soul. The gene, listen carefully now, the gene occupies a fixed location on the chromosome and has a specific influence. The geneticist occupies a fixed position. Hear me now. The geneticist occupies a fixed position in the hierarchy of the fallen lords and is now in charge of creating and producing specific influences in today's humanity. Let me go back and get that to you one more time. The gene, as it was said before, occupies a fixed location on the chromosome and has a specific influence. The geneticist, or the new Gnostic, occupies a fixed position in the hierarchy of the fallen elders and is now in charge of creating and producing specific influences in today's humanity. Based on the condition of our planet, it would appear that nothing or no one can be saved. And this is what they are telling you, that without them, you cannot be saved. Without the operation, without gene therapy, without the drugs, without all of this that they're doing, they're terraforming your bloodstream. They're damming it up just like they would dam any flowing river so that they could change the dynamic flow of the river and get your hydroelectricity from it. Well, what they're doing is they're damming your bloodstream with all kind of shit. And from that particular dam, they're extracting all kinds of perverted forms of electrical impulses that come out as your behavior. The old order of disease and health, food and nutrition, mind and matter, God and man are either dead or dying. The present human experiment as a species is a dismal failure, according to them. This is what they're telling you. Ye cannot be saved unless ye be born again. And ye are only born again in Jesus Christ. You cannot be protected from all of these germs out here unless you're vaccinated. I'm giving you all of the spiel. You cannot get anywhere in life without an education. Do you hear how they are playing with you and in your head? In reality, man is breaking free. The containment unit or cell or gene is in the process of spiritual mutation, hallelujah, which in turn signals biomolecular freedom from the illusion of the present corporeal agreement. To the fallen elders, this constitutes death in this plane. They cannot allow it. It means that in their garden, the crop of vegetables is turning into an uncontrollable weed. The fallen lords, through the Illuminati geneticists, say we need a new man. We need a whole new breed of man. We need a new man and a new womb man. The building blocks of life, the genes, shall be rearranged in such a way to create a new man for a new age who will function in the right way. The geneticist says, finally, with gene engineering, all possibilities are open for us. We have ways to escape our own physiological lockdown in this paradigm. All we have to do is genetically alter the fact that we don't have the ability to make the melanin. We don't have the ability to protect ourselves from the higher frequencies of light that are going to inevitably be coming to this planet. And it isn't just higher heat, it's higher information. That's why they're going to start getting melanoma. Because the melanoma is burning up the bullshit. It's cleaning house. It's cleaning genetic house. So now they have to change the infrastructure. They have to start milking and blending and putting together certain blood types that come from between. See, my blood type, they're going to want to find out what's wrong with me and how I get, okay, I got part white, part black, part Spanish, part African, part everything. They're going to want to know what my blood is doing. How come he ain't got pustules coming out of his skin? Well, you can bet they already are terraforming the human body, and they are using the body itself and how it defends itself or how it acclimates to higher frequencies of consciousness. They're already doing that. They're already growing them in pig wombs and in sheep wombs. Now, what is the work of the geneticist? He has transferred human growth hormones to pigs to make them grow faster. He has terraformed the pig because, and this came out of his literature, the skin of the pig is more closely related to the Caucasian skin. That is why he uses that particular animal to test all of his sunblock. The sunblock is tested on the skin of the pig before he puts it out on the market for sale. He now found, and this is deep because they told it right here, you got to look at all them off channels. Don't look at this bullshit 2, 4, 5. Look at the off channels because they slip it in there. This is a medical channel. On a medical channel they said, well, we found that the pig has always been more closely related to man. Which man? Who in fuck are you talking about? You know you're not talking about me. That's bullshit. The pig skin? It's him. Now they have terraformed the pig's whole anatomy, changed the bloodstream, dammed it up with all of their little chemicals, put the human gene into the pig gene, grafted it, did it in such a way that now the pig has created internal organs referred to human bodies. You can now go down to transplant agencies and put in an order for a pig to grow your blood type, to grow your organs just in case you have a heart attack. Never mind teaching you how not to get a heart attack. We will build a whole industry waiting for you to get your inevitable heart attack. They have all kinds of pigs. They got cows. They got sheep that are growing human shit. They got... Fuck out of here, Reverend Valentine. Bullshit. They got something, a sheep growing human bodies inside of sheep ovaries. Ooh, Yaku is going, he's out of control. Now, check this. The process of cross-genetic interspecies breeding, when introduced into humans, not from human to the other species, but from the other species into the human, will create a disease called acromegaly. Now, acromegaly is the disease that Akhenaten had. Now, acromegaly changed him into a hermaphrodite. Now you say, well, damn. One of our greatest kings who believed in one God. They had to kill that motherfucker. You kidding? You come in there with one God perception? All the rest of the gods said, you're out your mind. There's no such thing as one God. There is no such thing as a God. God is a creation of man. And until we understand that, you are God. That the only realization that you have that there is a God is because you have to be God to realize that. The only reason you have the realization to realize that there is a God is because you are God. You could not be unless God gave you the realization to be and that you realize that you are. You are God. I'm speaking to God. God's speaking to itself. God has conversations with itself. And this is what it's all about. You ain't waiting for somebody to come down and talk about Jesus spoke to me to do anything. Anytime you think God is speaking to itself. You're waiting for some outside source. And that's the deep part of Christianity. You're in a Christian state. Check this out. You can go talking to God all the hell you want. They tell you, speak to God. Talk to God. But as soon as somebody tells you that God spoke to them, they think you're crazy. They want to lock your ass up in a Christian institution because God spoke to your ass. But what the hell? You've been talking so long, why wouldn't you be getting an answer? Why should it be so strange if there is a God and somebody's saying I'm getting answers, somebody's talking to me, God is telling me to do it, why shouldn't I believe you? If God is out there to be spoken to, you doing all this damn praying. The work of the geneticist, the new gnostic, the process of cross-pollination causes all forms of deformity. And how does this happen? How does deformity become created? I'll tell you, putting insects into insect genes into humans, putting all kind of animal things and cross-pollinating, doing all kind of crazy things out of your mind, disturbing the order, only because you know that the present order cannot keep those who are us getting ready to leave, getting ready to get on the good freedom ship to get the fuck out of here. They know they got to stop that journey. The exodus is now. It's getting ready to happen. The so-called Moses that is the light that is you, your realization, self-realization that you call your Moses energy, leading you out of the land of bondage, the bondage of this three-dimensional consciousness time zone, you about to lead your damn self out. And they got to stop that journey. How do you stop this particular journey? Because all journeys of consciousness begin where? Within. So you can't be putting all kind of tubes and stuff on the outside, because inside is going to always bypass that bullshit. As a matter of fact, the physical body was meant to solve problems, meant to overcome adversities. So you could put all kind of chips, you could put a plug right up his asshole, and he's going to find a way to bypass that. So you got to get him at the essential level, where spirit, where light synthesizes and condenses and liquefies into the bloodstream. The direct connect, you got to get him there. The gene can be taught to synergize with the pig. Now let me tell you, a gene can be taught to synergize with the pig. And when eaten by man over a period of time, along with vaccinations, of course, you got to get 54 of them, remember. Now, why would you need to get 54 goddamn vaccinations? Unless it's to terraform you and to make you more susceptible to the species change that they got planned for you. The pig gene will teach the human body, after it's been introduced enough times, to interface with it. You see some motherfucker walking around with a big snout and a cloven hoof. An extreme danger to the genetic integrity of the human is when genes are deliberately implanted into the genome of a tomato, for instance, which don't become inactive in the tomato. Check it. The genes that are implanted into the tomato don't become inactive by the fact that the tomato becomes a tomato. In other words, it doesn't become part of the tomato construct. It's active. But are aimed in your tomato, these new genes that they're putting in, is aimed at the human brain. It is possible now to introduce what are known as buddy genes or soul mates, and that's S-O-L-E, that's for the sole purpose of mates, or what is called accompanying genes that become active only when you take it into a human construct. In other words, it's inactive while it's in the tomato, but when it comes into interfacing with your chemistry, it comes to life. It is possible now to introduce these buddy genes. The only problem for the geneticist would be to keep this buddy gene inactive in the food until it is taken in by the organism. This brain gene has no purpose or function in the tomato whatsoever. It is inserted specifically so that whoever eats this tomato absorbs and then activates this brain gene. The gene is then received by receptors in the brain that correspond to the artificial brain gene and is then synthesized with the DNA of the person. Now they say, well, that's impossible. How the hell does that happen? It does not happen just by a whim. Your body has to be slowly degenerated in order to accommodate this kind of change. A body that's in pristine health will not accommodate it because it will recognize the intrusion and then all forms but complete. It's like, what you doing here? Out? That's it. They ain't coming up in here. We got everybody's sane here. Everybody know who they are here. We know we don't know you. But if you have a retarded bloodstream based upon all the filth that the cow pus and the monkey pus and all the crap that you eat, the sugar, the salts, not the real sugars, not the real salts, I'm talking all the crap you breathe, everything that begins to degenerate the river of life and slowly dim the river of light. Now, under stealth, special forces, which essentially are what? Special forces are essentially the geneticists and their particular agents and their particular kind of, ordinances. Will go in under cover of ignorance and under cover of a polluted blood. Yes, own you. Brother put it succinctly. Own you. The gene is then received by receptors in the brain and is then synthesized with the DNA of that person. The destination of such brain genes is first and foremost the original parts of the brain. That means your so-called reptilian part, the part that is first grown in the womb, the part that helps to be the stem from which the flower, the lotus, blooms. Understand what I just said? The stem from which the lotus blooms. The lotus don't bloom if the stem is cut or if the stem has some form of impediment in it. And you could put certain types of artificial receptors there that take the natural flow of light and energy and completely changes them around so the lotus blooms out as a cactus or some shit. Now, the destination of these so-called, and I'm using this word, brain genes, is first of all the original parts of the brain. And that original part of the brain is the limbic system. And the limbic system is a group of brain-structured nodules that include the hippocampus, the amygdala, the dentate gyrus, the cingulate gyrus, the gyrus fornicatus. Yeah. The gyrus fornicatus. The arch cortex. And their interconnections and connections with the hippocampus, the septal area, and the medical area of the mesosouth, okay, hold on for me. These motherfuckers put all this long shit here. Mesencephalic, and phallic being, you know what, right? Mesencephalic tegmentum. Must be something like a dick sticking up in your brain somewhere. This system is activated by motivated behavior and arousal, and it influences the endocrine system and the autonomic motor systems. Now, the endocrine system is what helps you make sure that you are either male or female. It tells you how to distribute all the nutrients. It tells you where to put everything, how your body is supposed to function. The endocrine system is like the baddest part of the system. It makes all of the hormones and makes sure the hormones are healthy. Fuck with that, and you know, guys are walking around and women are walking around. And you don't know what's what. Yes, brother. You had, okay. So the genes implanted in the tomato don't cause the tomato to grow or even live longer, only to manipulate man. It is the ultimate medium for control of humanity through the manipulation of food. Remember I mentioned earlier that food and eating of food is a form of communication. Eating is a form of communication. Eating is a form of information transfer. Because everything that you eat is based upon your synergistic communication with nature and nature communicating her love and her beneficence to you. So when you eat, you can't be talking all kind of bullshit. You can't be arguing with somebody. You can't be yelling and screaming. You could be in a nice temper, you could be doing, but you could be eating. I have a problem eating sometimes looking at TV. But then when I'm eating, I'm getting pissed off. You know? So, unless you are completely girded against the bullshit, you know, don't eat and absorb shit when you eat. You're supposed to be eating around something real calm. You're supposed to be listening to breezes blow, you know? You're supposed to be hearing the breath in your head. You're supposed to be hearing the chewing. You're supposed to be feeling and synergizing with the food. Oh, thank you, broccoli, you know. You know, thank you. And, oh, this is so good. Oh, yeah. And eating with the fingers like children. You know, just getting messy with it, you know. Just loving your food one to one. We're the only society that eats with inorganic. We're supposed to steal between you and your food. At least the Chinese and them put the wood, and wooden bowls, wooden spoons, at least have some kind of frequency vibration with the food. The wood is alive. That's cool. But the hand pre-digests the food. The hand, the energy in the hand and the fingers communicates to the body. The aura is already picking up what you got in your hand. Before it even hits your mouth, you got the right digestive juices in the mouth. Why do you think babies look so happy when they have food all over them? The whole body is enjoying this. It's sucking it up in the pores and everything. Eating is information transfer, because the nutrient base that's within that life form that you are sacrificing, that you are giving up, that is giving up its life for you, that information is being transferred. The information of the light of the sun, photosynthesis, what the earth has been telling. Information from a plant that picks up information. Plants talk to one another from around the world. They don't just speak to one another. You read The Secret Life of Plants. They speak. They had this dude, he was standing there, and he hooked up an oscillator or some kind of equipment to a cantaloupe, and he was about to smash this other cantaloupe, and the cantaloupe energy started going off the scale. As if it was alive, like it knew what you were going to do to the other cantaloupe. So everything that is a byproduct of life is alive. So when you are eating live food, you're supposed to be in thanks, you're supposed to be in great humor, in surrender and in love and in... I mean, that's the way. You cannot be poisoned with that kind of attitude. You cannot. I don't give a damn if you're putting down hemlock. You have this love. It knows you. Food knows you by the way you are with it. It knows you from the beginning. Now, let me describe what a gene is. A gene, to me, metaphysically, is a resonance or frequency receptor. Listen to me carefully now. I hope I'm not losing you. Are you all right? You sure you're all right? You can just, like do this, I won't be embarrassed, yawn and stretch it out and, do a dance step, wiggle a little bit, get the blood flowing. Because remember now, while you're sitting here in front of me, all the blood that you would normally be using to digest food is coming up to the brain to digest my words. You see, all the blood is up here now. That's why some of y'all are saying, well, damn, it's too much blood. Because you get an overload. Yes, brother. Oh, yeah, not only the Department of Energy is hooked up with the Pentagon. Okay? You said the Human Genome Project. There's a Human Genome Project that is funded by the government. Matter of fact, it's made up of scientists from around the world. And it's funded through the Department of Energy, which is funded directly through the Pentagon, which is funded actually directly through the Jason organization, which is the super scientists. All this bullshit you see with taking water and turning it to steam, that ain't nothing. There are levels of science that they practice. This is practiced at the highest level. What? Now, the gene is a resonance or frequency receptor. The gene is a translator of light and sound frequencies into information. Hello. Let me say that one more time. The gene is a translator of light and sound frequencies into information or aton. Informing aton. Informing, the informing of the sun. The sun informing. When you get information, you are forming light within you. That's what information is. Whatever you get in as sound, you process. And that process becomes you. That's what information is. The instructions form you. You form yourself from what you are given of the word. This is communicated to the cellular complex at large. Thought frequencies are reflected frequencies. Now follow me. Thought frequencies are reflected frequencies. They reflect or are filtered through the soul and the signatures of experience that have marked it. Your soul is marked with tattoos, blemishes of past experiences. They vibrate. They help to inspire you. They give you the premise of your thinking. All your former experiences are tattooed upon the soul. They give off frequencies that create your kinds of thinking, your kinds of behavior. They give off frequencies that eventually, if you keep constantly dealing with them, create your disease states. Thought is the bedrock of all disease. Thought terraforms you through the way the soul has that signature. In all your now, if you constantly keep reading the graffiti becomes more and more a part of you. So the thoughts that you think, all thoughts that you think, inform you. And by that informing, creates what you are, who you are, what you become. Thought frequencies are reflected. They reflect or are filtered through the soul and of experiences that have marked the soul. In man, the gene transcends or transduces. The gene transduces. To transduce means to reduce, to, as it's flowing, the brother's electricity. To transduce means to attenuate or to downgrade in energy. So the gene transduces higher light frequencies into perception, awareness, and intelligence. That's how the body is formed. The body is a byproduct of divine intelligence. The byproduct of divine self-awareness that is the creator. The divine byproduct of self-perception that is the creator's involutionary realization of itself. So in man, the gene transduces all these light frequencies into physiological perception, physiological awareness, and physiological intelligence. It keeps the I, me, and the I am in touch with its individual capabilities to achieve the principles of the higher mind. Let me repeat that. In man, the gene transduces light frequencies into perception, awareness, and intelligence. It keeps the I, me, and the I am, okay? The I am and the I, me. I, me is the offshoot of the I am because the I am already is in knowledge and in of itself. It is itself. That which I, me is based upon the fact that the I am is looking at itself and sees I, me. Hey! Woo! That's me! That's me! That's me! And when you do that, whole other kind of energies open up for you when you can see who you are in everything and everyone around you. That's the warrior. That's the true warrior. That's the true exercise of God's higher plan. To become in knowledge of self. The I am that I am becomes the I am that will be. And the I am that is of knowledge of itself, or in the knowledge of itself. Now, a gene can change its capacitance for higher information or change it to a lower capacitance. through the type of information that the collective organism receives, translates, and communicates to every part of the physical body. Let me say that again. A gene can change its capacitance for higher information through the type of information that the collective organism receives. So information comes from the environment, the sun, the breeze, the water you drink, the words spoken into your ears. All of these things are telling the gene who you are in relationship. Because all things, the only knowledge can come of self through relationships, through dynamics of three-dimensional interfacing. This, that, height, depth, width, breadth. This type of genetic change is based on involutionary, evolutionary, experiential reality dynamics that is based on individual assessments of that said reality. But today, genetic change or modification is neither involutionary or evolutionary, but coercive, invasive, and aggressive. Unnatural. Genes are now being manipulated to serve a temporary agenda with devastating consequences to humanity in the long run. Each part of the brain mentioned earlier are compartments that diffuse light into consciousness or awareness fractals that are then reassembled into the focus that represents intelligence, awareness, and consciousness. Let me say that again. Each part of your brain are compartments that diffuse the light that you're picking up and break them down into the fractal. Now remember, this is done in breaths of seconds and nanos and what do you call it? Don't even think. I'm slowing this down so we can actually pick up on what I'm saying. But just imagine how light is compartmentalized and then boom, focused. Just like that. Just imagine what basketball, just playing basketball. You know how many things are going on at that time? Just before you, boom. That's information. All of that being the speed of thought. That's light. That's mind. So each part of the brain mentioned earlier processes light into awareness fractals. I put it that way because that's the best way I could actually say it. Awareness fractals that are then reassembled into the focus that represents intelligence, awareness, and consciousness. The concept of mind is a nebulous thing until it is given a focus. To speak of mind control is to speak of changing the lens by which the mind is focused. The light transduces or is transduced as through the chromosomes. The light fuses or focuses through the genes. Now let me say that again. The light transduces, the transducers of the light. And I said transducers means that which focuses all of it. That's what brings all of these fractals together, are the chromosomes. The light fractals that you get as universal intelligence is compartmentalized and given their instructions through the chromosomes. The light focuses, as I spoke to it, are in the genes. Did you get that? Okay, so one gathers the light, the other focuses it. So the chromosomes gathers the light, it's a light transducer. The genes focuses the light, like the lens. Okay? Stay with me. By nature, man is a light gatherer, a light bearer. We are here to accumulate light in greater and ever greater degrees, through adversity, through insight, through love. We enhance and expand the corporeal vessel and its envelope of light, thus raising our frequency, potential, input, and output, acquiring the ability to penetrate deeper and ever deeper levels of omniscient minds. But the geneticists of the fallen lords know that your feelings and your desires constitutes the focusing of light. Listen carefully. Here's where we get into what it's all about. The geneticists know, and they will never tell you over the 6 o'clock news, the geneticists know that, and this is the fallen lords giving them their instructions, your feelings and your desires constitutes the focusing of light. Okay? The feelings are the gatherings of light. That's why some women are the vessels for that. Desire is the focusing of it. See how you operate? The woman is the gatherer. She's the one by her own nature. Once she is impregnated, it is she who gathers the specific materials that bring together the human in her. Okay. Feeling is essentially a feminine situation. It is the deepest part of the female nature. Feeling is the magnetic. It is the gatherer. That's why when women are angry or emotional, they're feeling, they're not thinking. It's not their energy. They are gathering all of what experiences they have in their bloodstream. Everything, the mind, everything is just being gathered to that point of feeling. Okay? So, the feeling gathers through the chromosomes. Desire focuses through the genes. Okay? You, the mother, gathers all the materials to make me sentient. The desire or the intent was the sperm that enacted or initiated the process within her. So once that happens, the two dynamics are coming together. Feeling and desire are working to create this corporeal envelope for sensibility so that God could sense itself on the lower levels of creation. Okay? Now, feeling accumulates light in accordance with its intensity, its field of awareness and potential. Desire focuses that light. Okay? You see, the very vessel of the female, the vaginal organ, is an internal energy. She absorbs, she takes in. Her whole thing is feeling the atmosphere. She don't got to know that the wind is just coming. She don't got to know. She can feel that. That's her domain. That's the energy she deals with. Desire, which focuses all of what she feels, gives direction to it. That's why the male principle gives direction to the female, whether she likes it or not. That's right. If she doesn't get the direction from one male or a situation structured by a male, she gets it from someplace else. She thinks she's getting it by herself, but society was structured based on a masculine intent. The intent is followed through based upon how she participates in it. But it doesn't work the other way around. No. In this society, the feelings, that particular aspect of reality is decried. It's not even put into the equation. So she feels completely outcast. So she does not feel that her place, when you completely take away the feminine principle of God, what have you taken except the feeling? So how you going to talk to God and God ain't got no fucking feelings for you any damn way? There ain't no feminine principle in God. Not unless you draw Jesus as a faggot, and that's what they do. They put a dress on him. They got him. They got to put the female principle back in there. They done snatched it out. Christianity just killed off everything feminine. That's why they got so many faggots in the church. Why do you think they diddling little boys? The Pope was a pedophile. Oh, I need to do something on specifically Christianity, the dirt of Christianity. I did something on breaking down that whole trip on Christianity around the Bible. But I ain't never dug up the bones, the dead, the carcass, the festering flesh of Christianity. And I got all that shit just laying in the pocket for one day. Maybe we can do that one day. Just say digging up the corpse of Christianity. Yeah? 10? Okay. All right, let me get past this so I can get all this information down real close because I want to drop this on you. It gets deep. The geneticists pretend to make you nice, ripe tomatoes, right? But what they are doing is tilling the soil of your cellular landscape to plant seeds of a crop that will be of benefit to the fallen lords. He is is a scientist of the highest order, a Jasonite. He is an Argonaut in pursuit of the golden fleece. The fleece was a goat skin. Remember? Anybody saw Jason and the Argonauts? Okay. Let me just show. He is a scientist. He's an Argonaut in search of the golden fleece. The fleece was a goat skin. This is why they introduced cloning to the world by way of the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world. The world is a new genetically altered man. The savior of humanity is the Lamb. You remember? Right? They played that game on you real heavy. The Lamb did come back to save God, to save humanity, but to save humanity how? And for whom? All right? Pay attention. The geneticists tell you that certain characteristics of man have caused the deplorable state of mankind, so that everything coming out of the world of feelings must now be blocked if things are going to get better for humanity. This was the violence initiative that they were starting to put out. They were drawing thousands of vials of black young males' blood and putting it away. The emotional, impulsive kind of man is no longer acceptable for the earth. Only people with neutral feelings, or better yet, no feelings at all, are acceptable. Feelings automatically give fuel to desire, which focuses the intent of the feelings. The introduction of specific foreign brain genes into the food to communicate a genetic key that will lock down feelings is the grand purpose of the fallen elders. Let me repeat that. The introduction of specific types of brain-altering foods, brain-altering genes into the food to communicate a genetic key that will lock down feelings. This is the grand purpose. They have already introduced and produced genes that leave the person without feelings. We already have those. They introduced them in the Vietnam War. They did so by identifying. Now, how did they do it? They identified 3,000 human brain genes. 3,000. Now, if the alkaline structure of these genes have been deciphered and decoded, it is only a matter of routine for them to deal with their DNA machines to produce these genes, and they've been doing them by the billions. This has the capability of introducing what are called X genes or xenogenes into the limbic system, genes that will produce the desired effect of blocking or shutting down the light or shutting down the feelings or impulsive behavior. Impulse. Anything that has a pulse is alive. Understand what I'm saying to you? I am a pulse. I am pulse, impulse. Another possibility is the creation of soldier types, and they did so already. If you can eliminate empathy, sympathy, and mercy, and instead activate rage, murderous desires to attack, you have created the quintessential killing machine. So, what is so troubling about feelings for the fallen elders and the Illuminati? Well, feelings and their focus through desire are the prerequisite energy dynamic for understanding the biospiritual empathy. Now understand, biospiritual empathy is necessary for you to be able to decode the higher light frequencies. Empathy sets up a magnetic pulse that draws, synergizes energy and light to you. Empathy, remember empathy. It is the conduit for the energy that helps the fragmented perception of man understand his connection to unity. This cohesive element that helps you to understand unity is what is now defined as love. Without that empathic feeling, without the ability to understand feelings, you cannot understand love. You cannot even process that energy. You can't even synthesize or decode what is love. Because remember, it is man who gives love to God. God don't give love to man. It is man who civilizes, man who creates peace and war, not God. This empathic resonance called love helps us to recognize or recognize or re-see our separateness and the illusion that maintains this. It is in our separateness that the fallen lords maintain their power and control over us. Love for one another and self-recognition is only possible through sensing ourselves. This means the communication between the soul and the rational mind is possible only through the realm of feelings. Let me repeat that. The communication between the soul and the rational mind is possible only through the realm of feelings. When the world of feelings is blocked, this causes an atrophy or a deterioration in the neuronal or nerve conduit, creating heartlessness. You are no longer feeling remorse. The feeling that a mother would have for a child, to nurse a child, that is being genetically bred out of us. The longing to be interfaced with a higher divine mind, that will be taken out from you. The burden of the soul is increased. Now, what do I mean by the burden of the soul? Each time you have an experience that you have a problem getting rid of, the soul carries that signature as a burden. People dying from quote-unquote cancer and different diseases are dying from the burden of a perception of experience that they've had, the judgment they've made of themselves in that experience. You carry your own judgment. You sentence yourself, and your disease is your sentence. The sentence is marked on the soul based upon your judgment of the experience you've had. That's why they say, judge not lest ye be judged. Because in your judgment, you set up the signature dynamics. And the more you judge yourself in relationship to other people and other situations, you further dig that signature in your soul. Until such time as, even if you die with it, the soul goes on with that signature and you take on another body, and all of a sudden you get cancer. You didn't die from cancer before, but you die from cancer now. That is the soul cleansing self. If they change the genetic structure, if they completely change the neighborhood through which the body, through which the soul uses the body to unburden itself, the soul cannot unburden itself. Why? This gets deep. I told you, mind control is not what it used to be. The burden of the soul is also recorded in the physical genetic makeup. There is a resonance between the gene of the body and the information of the soul. There is a resonance. The affinity of the soul is caught up in between. That place, that resonating factor you have there, where the nerves end, the soul begins. That's why when they use the electron microscope on nerves, they don't know where it goes. It just keeps going and diffracting and just gets smaller and smaller. That's where the soul begins, right where the nervous system ends. So any experience you have, anything that you perceive as ugly, as evil, or as hurting, or as pain, is registered on your soul as a blemish, as a signature. Clearing the signature or the graffiti of experience always begins with the soul. In this process, the soul radiates the signature of past experiences in such a way that a certain burden becomes active in the genes. The genes construct the signature as a disease. Break. We have to, because I'm getting ready to take off. But check what I just said to you. This is deep. Let me say it again. The soul radiates the signature of past experiences in such a way that a certain burden becomes active in the gene. So the signature, the graffiti, uses the genes as an outlet for the burden that it was carrying. All right. Now, the soul radiates the signature of past experience in such a way that the burden becomes active in the gene. The genes now construct the signature as a disease. As a matter of fact, it creates the temple in the womb according to the previous signature. That's why you say, well, how the hell is Jerry Lewis going to stop this disease? He ain't. Because the signature is still there. The contract is still signed. So the genes construct the signature as a disease or a desire to fulfill a particular aim that was left unfinished in a previous life. Therefore, any foreign gene that is implanted and becomes superimposed or a part of the body resonance acts as a jamming device. Yep. Hello. You're getting it. You put those artificial genes into that body, it acts as a jamming device between the body and the soul. That's right. It is not identical with the true genetic structure that organically created the physical makeup in accordance with the past experience that molded it. It is different and does not correspond to the burden of the soul. The soul cannot bypass the jamming frequency or the program that it has constructed. And the xenogene, because of the signature frequency in the xenogene frequency creates a now this brother knows what I'm talking about, puts you and the soul out of phase. Distortion. The soul resonates based upon the experiences. If you put a foreign gene like a pig who don't know anything but mud, all beep beep signals going off in your brain, you don't know what the fuck is going on in your head, you get migraines, you want to jump out a window, you don't know what the hell's going on, but your soul is out of phase with the genetics necessary for it to unburden itself, so you bug the fuck out. Just last page for part one. The result is a jumble of distorted light frequencies. For a clearer example, my own path of error is recorded on the soul and in the genes. Starting from the soul, I can organically clear up my past mistakes through my present learning experience in this flesh temple. However, the path of error, which is foreign to me, that is, the foreign programming that was implanted into the DNA, is not a part of my soul's experience. Therefore, the soul cannot activate the steps to clear itself of the burden of errors. The consequence is that the soul cannot work over and clean up or clean out the foreign programming until it has burdened itself anew through the xenoprogramming. In other words, it has to take the new programming into itself and accept something it didn't do. He's the new goat. He's getting ready. He came in. He brought the Capri. When you see Capri, that's Capricorn, all right? The Capri is the car that was basically donated to that specific side. Then you're dealing with the Cirrus. Every time they came out with a new car, it was to commemorate some particular ritual that they did to one of our gods. All right? So the Uhura Mazda, with the Mazda truck, actually, and this movie, Star Wars, being the savior scenario, the queen was the queen over the Nebu, which is essentially your people, the Nibiru, actually. All right? He's playing a whole lot of game. All of it has to do with the scenario of a savior coming for you. Neo was sleeping in the first scene. Computer says, Neo, the Matrix has you. Okay? Then he pushes X. Remember, watch all the time, because the Matrix is a feminine principle. Every time they upload the computer and they push X. Watch every time, especially when he goes inside the ship and he gets located and they start programming him. Every time they push, it's X, X, X. Okay. Female energy, the whole thing around the measure. Follow the white rabbit. That is procreation, the new dawning. That was the Queen. Queen Elizabeth wrote Alice in Wonderland. Queen Victoria, I believe. Well, Queen Elizabeth when she was a child. That story was about what was going on in Buckingham Palace. If you read Alice in Wonderland, you will know all of the people that were playing in there were people who lived in Buckingham Palace. She wrote that particular story about the people around her and what they were doing around the world. Remember, the Jews and the British are hooked up together. British is B'nai Brit. B'nai Brit. British and an Englander are two different things. A person who is British is not English. A Brit is one who deals with the covenant. Okay? Just bring you up to that. Hollywood says, well, remember the time when he came in and he introduced you to who he was going to be? Remember when he was at the door and he had some sort of pirate program? What did the boy at the door say to him when he gave him the program? Hallelujah. You are my Savior. my own personal Jesus Christ. Now, I'm just saying these little things to you because you thought he was just saying that, oh man, I'm going to get off today, bro. You my Jesus, you my Savior. You thinking that you're saying this off to the deep ends. Watch all the dialogue that's going on in the movies because they're setting you up to let you know that somehow the Savior scenario is going to work through something or someone that they're preparing for you. 9 times out of 10, he's already here. And he's supposed to be King Andrew or King, what's his name? What's the name of that little prince? Charles, King William? Prince William. Okay, now they already say in England, through Buckingham, that Jesus Christ, direct lineage, is the king. That the royalty of England is supposedly descended from Jesus Christ. They also say that Diana was assassinated or killed on a specific time. She was sacrificed at a place where the kings used to meet to fight, right there in France, to take over the whole shebang. Instead of getting everybody into the fight, the 2 kings would fight to see who would be king. She was assassinated right there. Now, she was assassinated carrying Dodie's baby. Now, the idea is that you imagine this little half black child with this woman who was supposed to be up to the heir of throne, hooking up with the Arabs, royalty in the royalty of the Saudi Arabian Empire, royalty there connected to the King and Queen of England. Trinity, which is one of the other people's names, says it's the question that drives us. It is the question that drives us. She tells Neo, it is the question that drives us. It's the question that brought you here. Remember I spoke about the fact that anything can be answered if you form the impeccable question. The impeccable question draws to you all the components for an impeccable answer. All of the universe is an answer. You as physicality are the proverbial question. You were created to form the question so that God may question itself. If you grow in ever higher degrees, if you redeem yourself from the illusion, certain questions automatically come into your mind. You ask specific questions, you create the vortex in your mind, that particular vortex draws to you the light that comprises the answer. So you can answer any questions, you don't need no damn books. All you have to do is to accumulate enough personal power, accumulate enough light, ask the impeccable question, and the universe answers you. 9:18 is when he awakens up. 9 and 9, that's 18. That's the number of the beast, you have to remember. 18 breaks down to 666. And all the numbers are serious. And the number 9 is 333. And number 18 is 666. Now, I'm putting all these things to you. What was his name? What was Neo's first name? What was Neo's real name? Yes. His name was Thomas A. Anderson. All right? Now, it's funny because if you know your Kemetic language or your Kemetic language, TAA means life force. And that was his initials. Thomas A. Anderson. It means force. Now, let us read what Thomas means in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Thomas, it means joined, co-joined, doubled, twin. One of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. This disciple was called Didymus. Thomas is a disciple of Jesus the Christ who represents the understanding faculty in man. Understanding and will function, or should function, in unison. Each has the center of activity in the front brain, the forehead. Among the disciples of Jesus, Thomas stood for the head, representing reason and intellectual perception. Jesus did not ignore Thomas's demand for physical evidence of his identity, but respected it. He convinced Thomas by corporeal evidence that there had been a body resurrection, and that it had not been a ghost body that was seen, but the same body that had been crucified, as was evidenced by the wounds that Thomas saw and felt. In John 14:5, Thomas represents reason functioning in the realm of sense, seeking to discern the things of spirit through other signs. What was he doing all through the movie? Okay, we'll get into that. Neo is Thomas Anderson, the doubting Thomas. Neo contacted, Neo was captured, Neo was interpreted. He says 2 lines. Thomas means twin, co-joined, Didymus, right? Neo means one, eon, new millennium, the new one. 2 lives, 2 millenniums. Neo is implanted, thinks it's a dream. Morpheus states that he spent his entire life looking for Neo, or the new way. Adam, they told him to meet him at Adam Street Bridge. Take your notes to the movies. Now the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying to you about Neo, because we're getting thick, I'm just laying out the groundwork right now. Remember when he was being interrogated by the searchers or the seekers or the agents, right? What do they always have? Sunglasses and an earpiece. They were searchers, right? Now spell the word search and take out the second 3 letters, and you see what I'm talking about. They always connected it. They always told you. They're always telling you exactly what it is that you're dealing with. Sound. Wait. Don't try to figure anything out yet. I'm just giving you pieces to the puzzle. Now, Neo knows the road end, where the end road ends. She said, you don't want to go out there because you already know where that goes. All right? Trinity tells Neo to be honest, that Morpheus knows more than he could ever imagine. Morpheus actually is Lucifer. Morpheus is Lucifer. Okay? Or Prometheus. Neo is Adam. Trinity is Eve, because she introduces Neo to Morph. Just like Eve introduced Adam to the apple, keeps you occupied with them. Your senses are supposed to be turned inward so that you begin to start dealing with changing the velocity of the atoms that rule these particular 4 senses, which are the 4 dynamics of the 4 elements. When you change them back in towards yourself and refocus those energies, you reach escape velocity. But they don't want to. They want to focus all your senses into your sensations. And once you do that, you exhaust yourself by eating all kind of shit to gratify those sensations. Because every time you eat shit, you create a thought process in you that creates the appetite. The appetite now uses certain cellular structures so that you begin to build a certain type of appetite entity that you have to feed. Oh, I gotta have some more chips. Whoa, I gotta have me some more Haagen-Dazs. Whoa, I gotta have me that, what do you call it? I gotta have that, man. Oh man, I'm starving. Who the hell in America is starving? Especially when they be eating all this shit out here. They keep talking about they starving. People talk about, I'm starving. No, you're not starving. But that's the sensation talking. The sensation you've created for gratification. The blue pill says, story ends. You believe whatever you want. Red pill says, stay here in Wonderland. And he shows you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Or is that the black hole into the higher consciousness? Oh, the rabbit hole is deep. Remember, the rabbit has to do with fecundity. Fecundity means procreation. It means the ability to create. That was the symbol. Proliferation. Better word. The rabbit hole, essentially, when Alice fell down the rabbit hole, it looked like she fell forever. Is that what they were talking about? And when she came out, she was in Wonderland. Well, essentially, the rabbit hole is nothing more than a symbol for the black hole. And the black hole is a place where light becomes diffused to a point that you could pass through a pinpoint, because all of your molecular structure has been broken down. And it spirals into, it becomes a wormhole, as they say, into another consciousness paradigm. That's what the rabbit hole is about. Lucifer says, remember, all I am offering you is the truth. Now, every time I say Lucifer, I mean Morpheus. Okay? Lucifer said to Neo, all I'm doing is offering you the truth. And that's what Lucifer offered to Adam and Eve. Listen, you fucked in this place, baby. Look around. Is this all you want to do? Walk around being perfect? I'm giving you a chance to deal with the knowledge of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that's essentially what he gave to Neo. Epoch was the computer man. And that's deep, isn't it? Epoch was the computer man. Now, here's the computer man telling you what the new epoch is going to be dealing with. He's called all the people who are essentially the Elohim. Each one of these people in the ship were the Elohim. Well, representative of the Elohim, because you saw their names. Morpheus, Epoch, Tank, Trinity. Now, here's something that you need to deal with. First thing after he took the pill, what did he look at? The mirror. I'm always saying to you, immediately, what would happen? What happened to God as soon as it realized itself? Remember what I said, I am and I me? Okay, now, my boy was living in the I am because he didn't know shit from Shinola. As soon as he took the pill, the first place he looked was into the mirror and saw I me. And he said, whoa, goddamn. And he said, he reached out to touch himself. He said, that's really me? And all of a sudden, it liquefied. And you saw, essentially, what the Bible was speaking about on the waters, the void. Where's my Bible? Spoke to you about God looking upon the face of the waters. I mean, dealing, it said here, and the earth was without form in the world, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. He touched it. And his whole face, everything began moving. I mean, they played the whole creation scenario right in front of your face. Genesis was being played out. He looked into the mirror. He is then awakened into the primordial ooze, which takes him over. He now takes on the specific matter that creates the physical flesh. Because you remember, he was taken over. The whole thing started taking his whole body over. Spirit began taking form. The whole thing is a game. You got to watch this movie the way it is. He is disconnected from his precise perception and thrust, or his perceived perception of self, and thrust into the world, or reborn into the real world of self-realization. In other words, he went through ye shall be born again, that whole shit that the Christians do, except they don't take the pill, they just dunk your head in some water. At that point, Morpheus was John the Baptist. Because what did he do with Jesus, or the Redeemer? He came in there, he said, threw his ass in the water and said, yeah, you seem to be the one. And he was not baptized by John. That's the misnomer. You remember, they be playing with the words. Jesus was baptized of John, not by John. In other words, the Jesus seed was baptized by John, or Ion. Remember I told you there was no J. It's Ion. In other words, that Jesus seed I was talking to you about in your body, which is secreted every 29 and a half days of the month. Every 29 and a half days of the month. That then secretes and travels down the body, down to the lower regions, descends into hell, and is resurrected. He stays 3 days on top of the kidneys and the adrenals. If you don't have sex those 3 days, that saving seed comes up and travels through the pneumogastric nerves, and then travels up by the medulla oblongata, is crucified or crucified, resurrected, and sits at the right hand of the Father, which is the cerebrum. All that shit happens inside of your body every time you take a breath. So the whole story of Jesus Christ is essentially a specific type of function that takes place in the body. If you deal with raising the seed 12 months without sex, and you raise the seed 12 months and then park that over into 12 years, 12 times 12, that's the 144,000 that becomes saved. That 144,000 now is raised to sit at the hand of the Father, goes there and comes into heaven, is redeemed, the whole 9 yards. All the bullshit they tell you about in the Bible has nothing to do with somebody coming down in a ship or all the crap. It has to do with your body saving itself. You are the Redeemer, and you have the essence of the Redeemer within you. Well, they know a lot more than we think they know. Remember, this be studies. Now, when Neo awakens, he asks Morph, what happened to me? Where is this place? Morph says, not where is important, more important is when. So we're dealing with past, present, and future. We're dealing with time. Right. Immediately, you saw the duality. Exactly, and space and time functions within a dynamic of units. Now, in other words, Adam has become one of us as a God who ate of the tree of knowledge and good and evil. He, Neo, is now in the realm of time. Before, he was, what's happened to me? What's going on? Now it's, when's going on? When's happening to me? When? Now he's now fallen back into the units of time. All of this is building. Morpheus takes Neo through the ship. He has the Nebuchadnezzar. All right? In Star Wars, the queen was the monarch of the Nibiru. Hollywood is resurrecting the story of the gods of Babylon because the Nibiru Anunnaki are returning. Epoch, Switch, Cypher, Dozer, Josa is one of the names, was the big brother who got killed. Zosa. Right? Then there's Mousy. Neo is plugged into a world that is accessed through the medulla oblongata. Now, remember when they shoved this in his back of his neck and said, this is going to feel a little funny. And they shoved it into the back of his neck? What was so important about the medulla oblongata? Does anybody tell me? Mm-mm. The medulla oblongata sits atop the tree of life, which is your spine. Actually, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because that's duality. Remember, when he was looking in the mirror, was good, evil. He was looking at himself. That's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The medulla oblongata is the place of the crucifixion. Now, there is a process in your body. When you raise kundalini, the secretion that you raise, which is the saving seed, travels along the spine. There is a channel on the spine that has spinal fluid. That spinal fluid, when it is processed, a channel on the spine that has spinal fluid. That spinal fluid, when it is processed of higher quality atoms and nutrition, becomes the River Jordan. Now, if you understand the word ore, G-O-R-D-A-N, you understand that ore is a precious substance. Okay? That precious substance goes up to the spinal column, which is the River Jordan, and empties into the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is the pneumoplexus that is right here around your what? What's this? Solar plexus. This is the sun plexus where Bethlehem, this is where the Son of God is born. Here, in this center right here, your solar plexus, the pneumogastric ganglia. When you raise this seed up, and the seed becomes qualified, it becomes crossified or crucified at the mount of the skull, which is Golgotha. Golgotha means place of the skull, just like Calvary means place of the skull. The crossing of the two thieves, where you see Jesus was crucified between two thieves, the two thieves represent the two nerves of the sympathetic nervous system, the Ida and the Pingala. So when you see these two thieves talking to Jesus, those are the ones that would steal your energy, the seed back, steal the light of the seed back. and throw it back down and turn it into a pillar of salt. Where did you hear that story from? Lot. Where do you think Lot came from? Lotus. The top of the brain is called, that part that opens up after Kundalini raises, is called the lotus petals. The 1,000-petal lotus, that's your brain. That's the part that opens up when the Kundalini rises and opens up the lamp of God, or lights the lamp of God that taketh away the sins of the world. If you are dealing with sexuality, like you want to look back and deal with Gomorrah and Sodom and all that shit, that's you dealing with that. If you look back or you change the energy going back downward, then it changes back to the essential minerals that it was constituted of, and you give life on the planet Earth rather than the life up here in heaven. So Lot's wife looked back, essentially the energy, the material that was being brought up the spine, looked back in sexuality and turned back to the essential components. So Lot's wife is the lotus stem. Follow me and keep up with me. Neo is plugged into the medulla oblongata. This is where the Ida and the Pingala crosses at the base of the skull, at the mount of the skull. The material, which is like unrefined oil, goes up and is crossified by electromagnetic energies from the Ida and the Pingala. At that point, crucifixion doesn't mean to kill, it means to increase. So at this point, when that seed reaches that cross at the base of the skull, the specific material that was being brought up by Kundalini is refined at that area and increased. In other words, from crude oil to gasoline. Now it goes straight to the particular part where it begins to trill and activate the pituitary, and then after that, the pineal gland. Now, when that particular thing was stuck in his medulla oblongata, immediately a whole nother world opened up. It opened up to any potential he wanted. Remember what he said. Neo awakens, or is the one, the I awareness is increased. Remember, his awareness of self increased as soon as he stuck that thing into his medulla oblongata. Morpheus says he is experiencing a residual self-image. The residual self-image is essentially of his past lives, of all the things that he was, is, and will be, or any potential that he can be. A mental projection of his digital self. Morpheus asks, what is real? Remember he asked me, he says, is this all real? Morpheus says, well, what is real? How do you define real? If you are talking about what you can touch, what you can smell or you can taste, then real is just simply electrical signals that you can interpret with your brain. Now let's freeze that right there. Essentially, that's what the overlords, that's what the fallen lords have done to you. They have created a world of sensuality so that you now think that reality is based upon the sense messengers that send specific types of chemicals to your brain. So reality is being constantly turned over in your brain based upon the food they feed you and the specific appetites they create, which creates the sensations that give you your reality. The movies you go and look at and the feelings you get from looking at the screen create certain energy dynamics inside of your brain and inside of your head so that you now have a composite reality that you're functioning under. Check? Neural interactive stimulation is the matrix. Living in a dream world. Neural interactive stimulation. That is exactly what they are doing to you. Neural interactive stimulation. Every time you participate in education, every time you participate in sports, every time you participate in the food, the way you eat, in any kind of recreation, the music you listen to, they are playing with the neurons in your body. They are playing with the nervous system to create appetites, to create sensual ceilings. Let me get that to you one more time. They create a sensual ceiling whereby your senses now act as the shutdown mechanism to see beyond where you are. Your senses are taught to block any higher energies from coming through or your ability to access higher energies. Because when you deal with the senses, you deal with lower components. Morpheus said, man became like unto his creator, created artificial intelligence that spawned an entire race of artificial beings a singular consciousness. Now, what were we talking about in part one? Except the fact that they are beginning to spawn a whole other race of man. This is what we're talking about when they're dealing with the kind of mind control that we're dealing with today. The kind of mind control that we're speaking about in this little folio. Now, y'all may think this is just a little something that I put together here, but I made sure that everything I put in here puts little components enough for you to go and find the rest of the information. Get Matrix 2. And I know brothers out there, if you can get the Matrix series from the brothers that are behind there dealing with that, get the Matrix series. But get Matrix 2. 1 and 2 will put you into the groove. It will acclimate you to the kind of things that I'm speaking about. But the artificial intelligence dependent upon solar light to survive. Now check that out. Remember that the artificial intelligence was dealing with solar light. Now what did they do? They went about and blackened the whole sky. Morpheus said that we destroyed ourselves to spite our face. Destroyed the whole planet in order that they may not live. That particular thing processes over to his behavioral dynamic. The very fact that he creates these kinds of weapons, he ain't got nobody else to fight. He owns money's mother. So it ain't about the money. Everything that is promoting his behavioral dynamic, everything that is causing him to be who he is to survive. He cannot interface and love you because he would disappear if that happened. He is a creature unto himself, and in order to maintain that, he creates technology to keep the distance between the humanity that could destroy him. Humanity cannot become part of his reality. That is why in part one I spoke about the fact that they are going to genetically engineer feeling out of the next humanity, or at least the humanity that is going to be the one he wants to interface with. He has to destroy feelings because feelings automatically gravitate you to one another. And he knows that it's a matter of time because he can't outproduce and reproduce you. So he has to restructure a barrier. His technology is his way of keeping the distance between you and himself. That is the illusion. That is the matrix between human dynamics. That is the artificial technology that takes the place of the original technology. You see, because we understood the original technology. When he went over there to these different places, saw all these temples of what he called it, wondered how they worked, couldn't understand why they worked the way they did. He did not understand the dynamics of African melanated technology. It had nothing to do with destroying the planet. It had to do with interfacing with the planet. That takes an enormous amount more intelligence than the kind of tech is doing. All of this technology is obsolete. He is on this particular mad quest called progress. Progress is insanity. Progress is a psychosis. Progress is a neurosis. It is a necessity because that's how he has to keep up with keeping you down. The artificial intelligence was dependent on solar light to survive. Humanity blackened the sky to destroy them, but these things survived. Morpheus says that throughout the 20th century, man has been dependent on machines, and he said the funny thing and the most ironic thing now is that the tables have turned because the machines are now dependent on man. They grow man like a crop. Frankenstein got out the lab to terrorize its creator, just as God terrorizes man. Why did I say that? God terrorizes man, its creator. Think what I just said. Think about it. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Because you didn't get that. I didn't think you got that. All right. Frankenstein got out the lab. All right? And destroyed, to terrorize and destroy its own creator. Just as God now got out the lab of man's mind to terrorize him. Right? Now, how did the artificial intelligence survive? The human body generates more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 2,000 BTUs, that's British thermal units of body heat. Combined with a form of fusion, these machines found all the energy they could ever need generated by the cellular sons of man. Ooh, what did I just say? I just said something in that last sentence that just went right over your head. The sons of man. Oh, holy hallelujah. Woo! Come on and fan me, Jesus. I just gave you a clue. The sons of man. The sons of man are the cells. Now check this out. They now found out that that one unit called the cell is so intricate and dynamic that it has thousands of layers that they have not yet understood in one single cell. They said it is a construct that cannot be fragmented and broken down and understood. This is the single cell. The cell is a sun in miniature, just like there are life forms on what you call your sun right now. The life form called the cell has thousands of intricate other life forms that constitute its own construction. So the sons of man are your cells, because the cells are what need to be reprogrammed through the chromosomes, through the genes, in order for you to escape the present envelope of perception that you're in. You are trapped in this seal. You are sealed shut inside of this. And it is the cells that awaken and change the valence, change the frequency dynamic, change the oscillation, change the dynamic, so that you don't even know what you're going to look like in the new paradigm. Because even if you could project yourself there, which you can't because you're living under a light code lockdown anyway, you can't know what this is going to look like, because the next paradigm, you can't take this beat up piece of shit there. You got to rethink the vehicle. You got to get out of that 1929 bug and get into a 1999,000, Rolls Royce or some other shit like that. You got to go from running around in a go-kart and get into a rocket. Now, you can't get to the velocity in a push cart, because this is what you're walking around in right now, a beat-up push cart. The body that you have, the cellular agreement, the agreement to have fingers, the agreement to have eyes, the agreement to have teeth, all of these are agreements that have you functioning in the area of the agreement. This is where the contract is for. This is the three-dimensional third density contract area. This is where your body signed in to function. So it needed these things. You don't need it where you're going, because the cells have a whole other arrangement for the kind of consciousness that you must have in your body at the time when you're functioning on other dimensions. You can't take this vessel there. You got to completely break it down and reassemble it to a whole other agreement. Now, when you notice how they're playing your head, because it's really happening. When they were feeding the children, what did they feed the children? What was the liquid made of? Other humans. Right, it was liquefied humans. And what was terrorizing Morpheus was the efficiency with which they did it. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was wasted. The efficiency with which they're keeping you locked down right now is so... if you could look above all this shit and see how we're scurrying around in a maze like rats. Going to work, that's what I'm saying. Sister, I said that the last time. 66 trillion years of evolution in consciousness, and all you got to show for it is a 9-to-5 fucking job. Could you imagine? You are a composite of God's own evolutionary experience of itself, and you're going to work for a job to do what? To do what? What the fuck are you doing? Look out there, you out here. You're going crazy. You're going to work for a job? And you gods walking around? Y'all need to read, or you need to check the movie Soylent Green. That's an oldie but goodie with Charlton Heston. Morpheus says to Neo, after he sees the truth, that they have a rule. What's the rule? No. Morpheus told Neo that he has a rule. After a certain age, they never wake him up because it's too damn dangerous. No. They can't handle it. Walk into there when you see any good Christian pounding that Bible talking about he knows Jesus. Then pull the plug on his shit and waking him up. He would bug. He would literally bug if he knew what the truth was. He feels comfortable in that zone that he's been put in, believing that Jesus Christ gonna come and take his sorry ass out of his misery like he got some kind of investment. And then these people on that television telling them, you got an investment in heaven right now. Just send them dollars and you'll know. I got a place for you in heaven. And these dumbass people really believe that they can pay their way into heaven. Creflo Dollar. Now that's a nigga for you. Creflo fucking Dollar. Now, if you don't get that shit now, a nigga with a name like Dollar, and he's a preacher. Damn. And they got one of them biggest churches. Creflo Dollar. What was his mother thinking about? God damn.
Now, can you tell me about it?
No questions now. We're going to get a question. Morpheus says to Neo after he sees the truth, they have a rule and never free your mind after a certain age because you have a hard time letting go. It's dangerous. Morpheus says that he freed Neo because he believed that Neo was the reincarnation of a man that was born in the Matrix a long time ago, who freed Morpheus and, many of the others. As long as the Matrix exists, that is the illusion, the human race will never be free. After he died, the Oracle prophesied his return. Now, did you get a look at the Oracle? Now, what was this white boy thinking about when he wrote this? Went damn well into the projects to find an oracle, doing what? Cooking. Can't get a woman to cook no time, nowhere today. But they telling you that mama was in the cookies and didn't give a shit about whether you knew it or not. Would you like a cookie? I love it. I like her acting style. But the thing was missing was they switched it from the cigar to the cigarette. Mama was supposed to have the oracle smoke the cigarette. The cigar. Because a cigar was a legba and it was the opener of the way. That was the way. And they took the cigarette and put the cigarette in the hand, which is the symbol of the white man. You see? Because right away, the power would have been in that black man's hands. He would have been the one. Okay? Because she already found the one. The one was really Morpheus. People quite know. That's right. Now, after he died, the oracle prophesied his return. He was coming to behail the destruction of the Matrix, the end of the war, bring freedom to our people, that he was the savior. Where was the hidden city and what was the hidden city called? Oh. Now, I don't know. See, these white boys were, who are they? The Kravetsky brothers or whoever they were? These boys were definitely dropping the science, all right? Now, we know that Zion, you take again the Z, you take the Z away from it, and you get the ion, just like you get John one more time. Now, ion or Zion is definitely within a matrix of dynamic radiation. Again, radiation, you look at radiation again, you spell R-A-D-I-A-T-O-N. You take away Ra and Aton, right there, you got the symbol of light. Okay, you never looked at the word radiation, have you? R-A-D-I-A-T-O-N. Radiation, ion. Okay? So you're watching them play around with a genetic memory in your head. And if you don't know what's going on, you're thinking, oh, yeah, that's real cool, man. You see that? No. The last human city, in the center of the earth, this is the earth right here. Your humanity is here. They said it was buried deep. Zion is someplace that you achieve. It's not someplace you go to. Okay? And they said that boy was born. He was the one last members born in Zion. And the only two people that were actually born in Zion were who? The two brothers. The two brothers. Ah. Now remember when he tried to jump? Remember when he jumped? What was it that they said? No, he couldn't do it. But what's the name say? Everybody falls the first time. Okay, what does that mean? It means that every time the Creator begins to bring about the concept or perception of itself as man, it falls. Everybody falls the first time. All right? Now, the system is the enemy. Remember, the people are part of the system. The very people we are trying to save is the enemy until they wake up. Remember when he was inside? Now, that's why I tell you folks, be careful when you're out there talking to certain people. Because the very people you think you want to leg up, especially family members, because they're the ones give you the worst time. They want to come and save you. Beat you on the head with the Bible. Boy, you've been dealing with them heathens again. Now, remember when he said, he walked up on him, when Neo came up on him, and the guy who was the one who turned out to be the evil one was named who? Cypher. Put a little Lou in front of it. All right, now wake up, people. Lucifer. Now, you have to remember that the word games that are going on, the words that's being played on your head, if you're not paying attention, you don't see what's going on, okay? You have to understand, he was Judas. And Judas essentially was the symbol of, Judas was the symbol of cancer. Because it is cancer at the point where the sun is exalted in Aries. As it goes into Cancer, it begins its fall. So it is betrayed at that point. So Judas is Cancer, and that's where the betrayal happens, or essentially that's when the specific spin of the earth starts the descent of the sun in the southern sky. So essentially you're watching Cypher, who essentially played /Judas, who betrayed everyone, essentially betrayed the Redeemer at the time, who was, and you remember at the time when he was about to put out the lights of the sun, and he now is banished. Lucifer was banished. He was killed off by who? Tank. Okay, now we'll get to that point. Let me get to this point. I want to get to this thing first. Everybody falls the first time. Man fell his first time. The system is the enemy. The people are part of the system. When Neo crept up on Cypher, what did he say? See, I know somebody said. Yeah, he said, God, you scared the bejesus out of me. Remember Bar Jesus? Who was Bar Jesus? Yes. Yes. Okay, right. There's two Jesuses in the Bible. There's a Bar Jesus and there's a Jesus. Now nobody know who the hell Bar Jesus is. Now, obviously Mary Magdalene didn't just go for forgiveness. People didn't understand who Mary Magdalene was supposed to be. Mary Magdalene was the expression. Mary was the virgin, untouched. It has nothing to do with what do you call it? Magdalene was Mary of the world. She was the elements being used and focused into the dynamic of creation. All right? Mary just stayed a virgin, supposedly. She's just what was the material used to create the, quote, Jesus seed. But you scared the bar Jesus out of me. All right? After 9 years, he realizes that ignorance is bliss. Remember when he had the meeting with the searchers? He said, after how many years? 9 years, the number of completion. He has made his full cycle. Lucifer now has been redeemed. His quiet is kept. He made his pact to be redeemed. He's out of there now. He brought light. They brought him in. Remember he said that Morpheus brought him in and told him he was the one in the whole 9 yards? Well, he came down and he was living in ignorance. He wants to go back into ignorance. Okay? Now, the oracle is a black woman. Let's get to the oracle one time. Come on with the black woman. When he went in, who was in there with him? Children. Something missing. All of the potential. She was the one in the kitchen. She is the creatrix. She is the one who takes all the raw materials and creates the nourishment, the sustenance. She is the one that feeds all humanity. She gives them their reason to be. She tells them what they need to do. In everything that you have done, everything that you have written about your ancestors, they've always gone to an oracle. And the oracle has always told you what it is that you were slated for. All the time. And it invariably was a woman. Because for your earthly mission, it was the woman who, essentially being in touch with all the elements, being who she was the one who knew what the earth had in store for you. Helped you to remember why you came back. Who you were. Used to tell you what ancestor you were. So when she came back in the oracle, and she said, the oracle told me things changed my life. Well, essentially, it was the feminine principle, the feeling principle. Okay? The feeling principle that's missing from everything that you're doing here. When the police snatched him and started beating him like Rodney King, all right? Cypher was the traitor, loose Cypher. Let me run down. I don't want to get to questions. Neo believes he can bring Orpheus back. Every mammal develops. Now, check this out. Did you notice what he said? Now, check this out. I didn't remember this thing. The searcher, or the one who was seeking, or the man with the glasses said, every animal develops a natural equilibrium with its environment except man. Man is not exactly a mammal. This is what he says. Somehow, man ain't exactly a mammal, because mammals tend to work in synergy with their environment. Man does not. So man is something above a mammal, or as he said, man is a virus. Now, the only time you see a virus underneath your what do you call it? A virus looks white to me. Anytime you look at you look at a cancer cell, and it is pure white. I'm not about being nice. I'm not being real. You know, I don't hate nobody. I can't hate nobody for who they are. You know. When the program is called it is uploaded, then the X button is pushed again. Every time you look at the situation, you check out the X button is pushed. He dies and he resurrects. The reverse of the Sleeping Beauty. She kisses him back alive. Okay? Check it out. All right? He's comatose. He's dead. He's gone. Says no to the illusion. Creates his own reality at the end. Now he is Neo, he is the one. The brother speaks to who he is. He says he's the one. Gives into illusion, illusion implodes. Now remember, what did he do to destroy his nemesis? He became him. So when you merge with the beast and you understand the beast, there is nothing he can do. He can't hide from you, he cannot destroy you. Now, at the end, you got the dates. In the first one, remember I said it was 3/29. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me get that first date. I want you to look at it. 2/1998. Now, with all of the introduction of these aggressive means to fight a perceived enemy, that's the problem. Medical science believes that they're fighting a perceived enemy when they set up the medical protocols for so-called therapy, or what is that? Not diagnosis, treatment. Radiation essentially is the quintessential collateral damage mechanism. It kills everything in its path. It's like, let's hope to get Saddam Hussein, let's carpet bomb and hope we kill enough. So you kill about 5,000-10,000 people trying to get this one person. That's the specific mentality of medicine. What it would do is essentially create a memory in the cells. When you feed the cellular network, when you change the frequency, or when you input a different frequency in the form of chemotherapy, in the form of radiation, the cells now have to defend themselves, and they create a memory of defense in the body. What they do also is they do not completely heal. No disease is completely healed. That memory is carried on in the cellular structure, because if you interfere with the unburdening process we spoke about, that interference now creates another burden. So the introduction of chemotherapy, the introduction of all these heroic forms of drugging you, creates another kind of karmic memory that the cellular structure now has to unburden in another life. So the more drugs you take when you're dealing with this crap, more medicines that you take in your body, the more the cells have to acclimate to this new invasion. This is the imposition that we spoke about earlier. The imposition of these genetic altering things that causes the burden to be forced. In other words, you take a pill for a headache, you don't get rid of the headache. You heighten the body's ability to not feel it. But the headache and the cause for the headache stays. The same way you repress the threshold. If the person is getting rid of cancer, cancer does not kill, beloved. Let's just get that straight, and I'm telling the brothers and sisters out there. Cancer does not kill. It only begins to kill when we override the directives of the body in its attempt to isolate the problem. When you have a problem in your body, the doctor looks at the problem, he now goes in, he takes a test, he punctures or destroys the encasement that the body created to defend itself with, and now the shit spreads and you wonder why. He diagnoses that the body has somehow isolated this. You got a cancer, look out, you're going to die. If I don't do this, it's metastasizing. Not telling you that that is the containment dynamic that consciousness, divine intelligence, created for itself. The body never kills itself. Every disease is an attempt of the body to isolate the problem. All diseases are short-termed. They are body-generated for the purpose of realigning the body back to health. Anytime you interfere with that process, you create a secondary burden. And then the body has to deal with that later on down the line. That's the best I can tell you, sister. Okay. Yes, beloved.
Why do you dislike King Akhenaten when you speak of him?
Well, I dislike what he tried to do, but I don't dislike him. The fact that he wanted to destroy all of the gods, in other words, take away what it is that God recognized of itself. There is no one thing operating in any dynamic in reality. All of what you see is God. So there are different principles at work. There are different functions at work within God. We didn't worship gods. That's nonsense. That's what they want you to think. We were scientific. We dealt with principles. And these principles were adhered to. These principles were given homage through respect, actually. Rather than homage, they were given respect. So when you erect different animals, these animals were condensed versions of certain principles based on their behaviorisms. So they weren't gods to be worshipped. They were principles. When that happened, Akhenaten said, forget all of the specific dynamics that God expresses itself as. Forget all the names, forget all the principles, all is one. Now when you've done that, you have centralized consciousness and therefore taken the state and allowed the state to take over or to centralize a particular brand of thought that allows you to only see one thing based upon your perception. But remember, the dynamics of Kemeta'u energies and understanding of the dynamics of all light came from a succession, an evolution of the science of being. So I know that my left arm is not my right. I know that my right arm is not my left foot. This is what they meant. If you say this is all one thing, then the functioning dynamic that we were created to recognize and represent is taken away. You centralize God, it becomes a state instrument. like it is now. And now you no longer have the divinity. Plus, you just wipe out a whole section of people that, you know, it was political as well.
I was thinking that oneness could have been the whole.
Yeah, but you see, you can't deal with the whole because we're not in the whole right now. We are in the many. When God takes on the physical form, the many is the whole. You see, when you start dealing, unity cannot understand duality as unity. Unity is only unity. The only way unity understands itself is through duality. When duality is represented as itself, when it does the two dynamics of male and female, yin and yang, positive and negative, we understand the dynamics of unity in that way. So understanding unity in the realm of duality gives us a better perspective because we see the unity in all of its dynamic expressions. If you take that and say, well, this is all one, when you say, okay, now, does that become expressed to one? All right, well, if that's all the one, you start dealing with generations from now, they have no clue because you've destroyed all the reasons for the one. Who are all the one? What does Enpu mean? Who is Heru? What is Ast? What is Heteru? These are dynamic expressions of the multifaceted personalities that constitutes the one you. The one you, yes. But the one you is not the one now. All of what we are enjoying is essentially the many as the one. But to come around and say that the one thing is all there is, you immediately destroy the fact that we are here to understand the many. You see what I'm saying? Silver mind control. Yeah, I know. Jose Silva. Yeah, I heard about Jose Silva. Jose Silva and your boy from what's the boy who sells that stuff on the streets? Huh? No, not York. Who's this white boy that trained the CIA? No. White boy that trained. He's got a book out. Dianetics. Earl Ron Hubbard. Now, L. Ron Hubbard is a bad motherfucker. Just sleep him. Huh? Oh, yeah. The government wanted his. Yeah. In fact, yeah. In fact, the silver mind control was part of what they teach. That's the next level of when they're ready to initiate their military men into covert ops. Okay? Promoting what is known as remote viewing. Now, the remote viewing situation we have with ESP and espionage, most of the people who brought remote viewing to the CIA were trained by L. Ron Hubbard. Remote viewing, the same person that was out there talking some shit to your boy Art Bell, he was a Silver graduate. He was a member of L. Ron Hubbard's inner elite. Remember, you got to go through certain stages before you get into L. Ron Hubbard's close circle. And he has a council of 13. Oh, yeah. Remote viewing is the same thing your ancestors used to do by way of the currents. There are ways that you could set up sympathetic energies just by manifesting the name, just by putting your hand on the Bible. Like when you come to see me, people wonder, well, how is it that you know what's going on? Because I get into empathy with you. All I have to do is sit there with you for a minute, and everything about you begins to radiate in my being. Once you do that, you're talking to the spirit of the person, and that person doesn't have to say a word. People wondering, how do you know this? The same particular dynamic, using vectors of light, using empathy, using consciousness wave patterns, using the wind, using light, using all of these, you can interface and see through people's eyes. You can interface that way. As a matter of fact, there is a web of life. That's the principle behind remote viewing and silver mind. There is a web of life that connects everything that is living and non-living. The non-living are connected in one level of strata, the living connected to another level of strata. When you tweak one part of that dynamic, you affect another part. I could take your picture right here and go to Bombay, India, and send a specific light frequency to your picture and affect you over here from Bombay. Because the filters that came together to create the image that was you is comprised of you. All right? So every picture you take That's why some of the ancestors said, I don't want you taking my picture, you capture my soul. They're right. The light filaments that your aura gives off, that gives the picture of you, is what it is that they're actually working. And I can work with that. That's why the ancestors used to set up these dolls that had the likeness of you. And that's why they rode those people crazy in Haiti, and why them motherfuckers had to run out of Haiti. Because they don't use their voodoo anymore. They done got Catholic. See, that's what Christianity did to your shit. It took your magic and kicked it up the ass. Until you get your magic back, you will not know who you are. You will not be interfacing with the Orishas and all the rest of these dynamics. And then once you got that understanding of it on the scientific plane, understanding on the organic plane, you ain't got to put names to shit no more. You just use mind, because the greatest civilizations on the planet, or on any planet, or on any reality, did not have any technologies. Yes, it is. So understanding energy dynamics. So silver mind control is essentially what it is, silver mind control. And it's about that we are all here on this dynamic journey, just enjoying one another. You die, go to war, you fight, you kill. You've done this before. Krishna told Arjuna, as he was standing there ready to go into battle, scared to death, he says, why are you scared? You did this so many times before. You've died and come back. This is your thing. Stop worrying about death. Leave that mentality of finality and the end of days and all that shit alone. You are a forever creature, and you keep cranking this dynamic of infinity into this beautiful blossoming body you got. You flower each time you come through the womb. Every time you take on the flesh, you got a whole new chance to unburden yourself. And this is what you're here to do right now. We've just unburdened ourselves with the realization we've exchanged today. Know thyself and heal thyself, love thyself.